Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Wednesday morning. We got a lot to get to right out of the gate here, a lot of BYU basketball. The head coach, Kevin Young, meeting with the media. We will get to that coming up. We also talked with Mark Durrant yesterday about how BYU can adjust and try to squeeze out some wins here, see what kind of damage they can do in the NCAA tournament. What is the floor? What is the ceiling for these guys now? You'll hear from him coming up. But we're going to start with Olympic hockey. Mike Folta came on yesterday, voice of the Utah Mammoth on the radio here. And the United States is in the quarterfinals. And there are four guys from the Utah Mammoth playing for four different teams. J.J. Peterka, we'll talk about him with Mike. Germany beat France 5-1, so Germany is into the quarterfinals. Also, Sweden beat Latvia 5-1, so Sweden will play the United States today in the fourth quarterfinal game. And we'll see what happens there as far as the U.S. I would expect they advance. They've had a really strong tournament so far, but you never really know, right? So here's Mike Folta talking hockey and talking Olympic hockey with PK and I right here on The Zone. Group play's all done. The U.S. sails through 3 wins in 3 games, plus 11 in goal differential, just dominating. Do you see, you just said a gold medal in your teeth, do you see Clayton Keller biting a gold medal in a photo a few days from now?
Well, that's I guess the big question, and it's not just the U.S. and Canada, right? I think that's what we're all looking forward to. That's what we all want to see. These two rival countries go head-to-head in a best-on-best setting like what we have in the Olympics. There are some other good teams in this tournament. You have a really good Sweden team that the U.S. could potentially have to play on Wednesday. The Americans will play the winner of Sweden and Latvia. You've got, a Czech team that has some good goaltenders that could get hot, but really none of these other teams have showed the type of dominance that the U.S. and Canada has had. And so it feels like we're on a U.S.-Canada collision course, which is, of course, what we all want. The Americans haven't looked as dominant as the Canadians have. Boy, you look up front for Team Canada, they've got Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon and this 19-year-old Macklin Celebrini kid who's not scared of anything and is tied for the league or tied for the tournament lead in goals. He's been fantastic. And Crosby, like the Americans can't necessarily match the Canadian firepower up front, but I think the Americans have the better goaltending situation and probably some more dynamic defensemen as well. So that'll be a great matchup. I don't think we've seen Team USA play its best yet. I think they're still coming together, and hopefully they can before that gold medal game.
Keller had a couple of games he didn't play, then got in there. From your perspective, you think he's comfortable with what's going on? I mean, he's a younger guy, but he's not that young.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? Like in an all-star situation like this where everybody's good. It's tough when you're used to being the top guy on your team, used to being the captain, the leader of the Utah Mammoth, and you go to Team USA and you're just another one of this group of great players. Now, we actually did just a few minutes ago see some reports online from some reporters who were there in Milan saying that Keller is taking line rushes with the third line again at practice. So that typically means that he's practicing with a group that's getting ready to play. Yeah. So it sounds like he's going to be playing in this next game on Wednesday, a quarterfinal game between the winner of Sweden and Latvia. So that's good news for Mammoth fans who want to see Clayton Keller play. He played the other day against Germany. I thought he looked good. Didn't have any points, but played alongside Tage Thompson of the Buffalo Sabres and Dylan Larkin, the captain of the Detroit Red Wings. And I thought was really strong, made some good plays in the offensive zone, made some clean reads in the defensive zone to help break the puck out. The Americans were never under too much fire in that game against Germany, but I thought Keller played well enough to earn another chance, and it looks like he's going to get it.
Peterka had an assist in the 5-1 U.S. win over Germany. He got an assist on the German goal. What about the other guys in the Olympics? What do you think of their Olympic experiences, and what do you expect going forward?
Yeah, I think J.J. Peterka for Team Germany has been the most impactful of the Utah Mammoth who are playing at the Olympics right now. He's had a few assists. He's playing along with Tim Stützle. Those are probably the second and third best German forwards in the world right now, with Leon Draisaitl being the best. But Peterka is playing alongside his old buddy Stützle. Those two played together back in World Juniors for Team Germany, and they've been really effective together. Stützle's been really, really dynamic for Team Germany, and Peterka has helped him do so. So that's been encouraging to see. He actually scored a goal this morning, J.J. Peterka, against France, with the winner of Germany and France playing Slovakia, I believe, on Wednesday. But JJ's been good. We've seen Olli Mata play third pair minutes for Team Finland. And guys, funny enough, we haven't seen Karel Vejmelka for Team Czechia at all yet. And they're playing Denmark right now, and it looks like he's not going to be in the game again, which the Czechs have three good goaltenders. Lukáš Dostal, the Anaheim Ducks. Dan Vladar has been good for the Philadelphia Flyers this year. But you're talking about a guy in Karel Vejmelka who leads the NHL in wins right now, and he hasn't gotten in a game for the Czech Republic. And that's surprising because the Czechs let in quite a few goals the first two games they played. So I honestly don't know why we haven't seen him. If I work for the Mammoth PR department, which I don't, but if I did, I would be spinning it as, yeah, the guy who's played the most games as a goalie in the last year is getting some rest, and the Mammoths are going to be able to lean on that over the last 25 games of the regular season. But I really expected to see Veggie at some point for Team Czechia, but not so yet.
Well, you know what the Czechia doctors say, no veggies, no good for you.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I knew you were bilingual, PK. I just didn't know it was Czech that you could speak as well.
Yeah, sure. What do you need? You talk about them getting rest or him getting rest for when the season resumes. What's the plan as far as when they reconvene? Is it like a little mini camp? What you know what's going to happen?
Well, practices have started already. This today, actually. Practice starts today. So some of the guys have been skating for a few days already now. These guys need some time off to shut it down, but they don't like to be off the ice that much during the season. So I know a few of the guys went to some sunny places and shut it down for a few days, but I saw a couple of the guys in the airport when I got back on Thursday, and they're like, "Yeah, we're skating here pretty soon." So practice starts today for the guys who are not with the Olympic teams, of course. And then even before that, guys were getting on the ice, just kind of feeling it out a little bit and getting back to work. And everybody knows what's at stake for this Mammoth team. Playoffs is still the expectation, but it's not going to be easy to stay in this playoff spot that they have. There's a bunch of teams around them that are within striking distance, within a game or two of knocking the Mammoths out of that playoff spot. And Utah has to be really on its toes once we restart the season. And any lapse could be a death knell against your playoff hopes. So we're starting practice again today for everybody besides those at the Olympics, and for me. I'm taking the optional, and I'm back home again in Indiana, as we say, getting some more R&R, as us broadcasters like to do. But practice starts today, and guys, remember this too. We were talking about Vejmelka. Last year, Karel Vejmelka started, I believe it was 23 of the last 24 games of the season. Or I think it was 24 of the last 25. He started 23 straight at one point to end the season. So the Utah Hockey Club last year leaned on him down the stretch of the season when they were trying to punch their ticket to the playoffs. I don't know if we're going to see that type of workload again this year, But in the last 25 games of the season, I think heading into that, it's a good thing for Veggie to get some rest during this Olympic break and not have to face 40 shots a game like you would if he was playing against Team Canada or Team U.S.
This is, for most of this generation, this first chance they've had a chance to play in the Olympics. It's been so long since the NHL sent there. And obviously, whenever leagues let their players go do stuff internationally, we've heard NBA owners talk about this too, there's a risk of injury, and it can impact the playoff race. And one of the teams, because it's like six or seven teams for 3 or 4 spots, however you want to count it up in the West, one of the teams that Utah's battling is the LA Kings, and the Kings lose Kevin Fiala. He's stretchered off the ice. It's a broken leg, and he's like their second leading scorer. He's basically been a 25-goal, 40-assist guy for them over the last couple of years. So is this the kind of thing teams are going to want to do, or are people going to, the owners who don't want to do this and the people in the Players Association who don't want to do this are going to look at this and say, hey, this is exactly why we shouldn't be doing this. Let's not do this again. Or has the rest of the tournament been so good that people are going to want to do it again in 4 years, and more importantly, in 8 years when the games are here?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Like, the owners and the general managers hate it.
Yeah.
Right? Because a guy gets hurt, and what do they get? They get nothing. It just hurts their chances. Now, in the Kings' case, they lose Kevin Fiala, who right now is their second leading scorer. He's done for the rest of the year. Good news for the Kings is that they just traded for Artemi Panarin from the New York Rangers, and he's one of the best goal scorers, one of the best players in the NHL right now. And so they're not made whole by losing Kevin Fiala necessarily, but they've got an even better player coming in to add to their roster after the Olympics. So it's not all doom and gloom in Kingsland right now down in LA. But you're right. Like, the owners and GMs hate it. It happened last year where Matthew Tkachuk got injured for Team USA and missed basically the last portion of the regular season. He got injured in 4 Nations. And then came back in the playoffs. Charlie McAvoy got banged up at the 4 Nations and was hurt for Boston. So this stuff happens. It happens, especially in the high leverage games when you're going, what to the wall trying to win a medal for your country. And I think the allure of the Olympics is just so big because it's such a big deal for the players. Like, the players are going to fight tooth and nail for this. And it's such a big deal for the sport, too. Like, it's good for the sport, especially with this Olympics in Milan. And you think of how the U.S. has been trying to grow the game in Europe. Like, the NFL has these international games, right? They're going to Australia. They're going to they go to Mexico. They go to places where they're trying to grow the game. The NHL has done this, too. They've done it with Germany. They've done it with Sweden. They've made it a point to bring the NHL game to Europe to try and strengthen hockey roots over in that part of the world. And so, especially this year where you're in Italy and you can try and strengthen these hockey fan bases in Europe, like, it's a slam dunk from the league office point of view. It's just not maybe something the owners are going to see like that direct return on investment from right away. And that sucks when your second best player goes down due to injury. But fingers crossed we don't have any more big injuries the rest of the way. It is, I will say too, the international game, like when it's controlled by the IIHF, the International Hockey Federation, it's still physical, but it tends to be a little bit less physical. Now, I think playing on an NHL-sized rink, like if we get U.S.-Canada, that's going to look like an NHL game and then some with the physicality. But for the most part, these games are not as physical as NHL playoff games. The international game just isn't necessarily played that way. Like, they don't allow fighting, stuff like that. So it is a little different, but yeah, owners hate it. Everybody else, we love it.
There is Mike Folta, the radio voice of the Utah Mammoth. When we come back, we're going to go to Kevin Young's press conference and hear what the BYU coach has to say about his Cougars as they prepare for Arizona tonight in Tucson. That's next. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK, and a reminder to join Scotty G Wednesday from noon to 3 at Tim Daly Nissan Southtown, 11155 South Jordan Gateway in South Jordan. Time now to go to Provo and hear Kevin Young's press conference. What does he have to say in advance of the BYU-Arizona game tonight? Here's BYU's basketball coach, Kevin Young.
How much confidence do you have in a guy like Rob to step up and provide some of that scoring, maybe that you're going to miss from Richie going forward?
Yeah, first let me address Richie if you guys don't mind. He in a lot of ways has been the flag bearer of just the Kevin Young era, so to speak. Just from day one, when he committed to coming back here, and then everything that he did last year and this year. In a lot of ways, just a poster child of everything that we were trying to do here. And so for that, I'll forever be grateful for Richie. I think he's everything that's great about a college basketball player. The amount of people, including opposing coaches within our league, that reached out to me, about Richie in the last couple of days, I think says a lot about him. Thing I love about him is just how much of a self-made guy he is. He's gotten himself to the point he's at because of sheer work and motor and effort and want to, and paid his dues and got a lot better. It's rare in this day and age, for a guy to do what he did here at BYU. And then lastly, just his commitment to BYU, his commitment to the community, to the university, the mission of the university. He's a BYU legend and will forever and always will be. And I just want to thank him and his family and everybody that's associated with him for the type of young man he is. Now, to the question you asked about Rob scoring more, yes, we're going to need him to be a play finisher a lot in conjunction with the playmaker. I think the way he's shooting the ball, both from three, and at the basket, has been extremely impressive. And it allows AJ to play on the ball a little bit more and gives us another kind of guy who can kind of space the floor and be, like I said, a play finisher. So, Rob and AJ and everybody, quite frankly, is going to have a lot of things on their plate. And I know those guys are, those two in particular, are built for this type of thing.
All right, we'll go Darnell, then Dana.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. Kevin, in terms of Richie being, a BYU guy and bleeds blue and shows everyone what it means to be a Cougar, it seems like NIL and the transfer portal kind of creates an atmosphere that doesn't make a lot of guys like that anymore. How important is it to try to find athletes to do that to help you build your culture?
It's a great question, and one, if I was a lifelong college coach, I would probably have a better answer for you. This is the iteration of college basketball that I know. I can only imagine what it was like back in the day when you could have, the same players for 3 to 4 years. That's amazing. I think in the NBA world, I think about the Spurs and the Bulls and the Warriors and these teams, even some of my short stints, like with the Suns, where you're getting the same guys year after year. That's how you build continuity, and it's very difficult in this day and age. And so you ask, how important is it? If you can do it, I think it's wildly important. How likely and realistic is it? That's a whole other question. Now, I do think at BYU specifically, there's guys that are drawn to BYU for reasons that are greater than basketball, and maybe we can build on, some of those young men. We have a couple coming in, in this recruiting class. But even that's not a shoe-in, right? I think you still have to, at the end of the day, you still have to help young men get better. You have to prove to them that you know what you're doing, so they're invested in your program. And then, like it or not, the economics have to match for both parties, and that's a challenge. There's no getting around it.
Yeah, my second question has to do with the freshmen in the league. You have a great freshman in AJ. It seems like every night in the Big 12 you're playing against another freshman that's really good. Do you think there are one or two aspects of their development in high school that may lead them to be not only good freshmen, but guys that can take over games?
Yeah, I don't know if I could point to one thing that this freshman class would have in common as it relates to their high school careers. I think this is just a historically good class. And it's all been, I think you have to give the coaches throughout our league and the country credit where, to empower freshmen, to put them in positions so that they can showcase what they can do. I think that's easier said than done. And to this class's credit, I mean, they've all answered the call and then some, right? So, I don't know. I don't know if I would point to one thing from their high school careers. I just think it's a historic class that you stumble upon, every so often.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned Rob Wright to help pick up some of that scoring slack. What about some of the other guys with Kennard and Kostic and Mihajlo and those guys? What have you told them about being more involved in both sides of the ball, but particularly off?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's going to have more opportunity. I think you saw it in the Colorado game. That was an extremely difficult game just from an emotional standpoint. One of the hardest games, if not the hardest game I've ever had to coach in, if I'm being honest with you. But I think you saw where multiple guys have had to step up. Tyler comes in right out of the gate, bangs 2 threes. Kostic bangs the big one. Mihai hits one. I think Kennard's playing a little bit more within himself, and I'm going to try to unlock him more. I think I've probably done him a disservice by trying to make him, a strictly a catch and shoot guy when he has a lot more to offer that I think we're going to see a lot more of now. And then we've got to explore other lineup combinations that we haven't looked at, and that's some things that we've looked at in practice. So, everything's on the table. I think where I draw the most excitement is I don't know, man. I think I do better in situations like this, back against the wall type of mentality. I've kind of operated that way my whole life, and I'm as energized as I've ever been as a coach, and I'm really taking this challenge head on. And I know a lot of people are writing us off, and I'm kind of relishing in that, and so are our guys. And when you got a group of guys like we do who are good young men, I think that they're going to rely on each other and band together, and I'm excited to see what this iteration of it looks like.
And then, going into a hostile place like Arizona, coming off 2 straight losses, they're going to be hungry. They're dealing with an injury of their own. What do you expect out of going into the McHale Center? Yeah, I mean,
look, that's going to be that would be a great atmosphere if they were still undefeated. The fact they've lost 2, it doesn't matter. The bottom line is it's not like, we're going to play extra hard because we've lost. Once you play the game, you got to execute the game plan. So every team needs wins this time of year, especially in our league. The standings are tight. Everyone's playing for something. So I've never bought into I say it to my guys all the time. I wake up motivated, and so I don't need extra motivation. I'm sure they don't either. We're hungry. They're hungry. It's going to be a good ball game.
All right, any other questions for Coach?
I can throw one more in there. You kind of mentioned that underdog mentality. Everyone's kind of writing you off, which is opposite for when you started the year. That big expectations. People talking Final Four. How do you use this to your advantage with the team? You talked about yourself, you like that. No one giving you a chance. Do you address that with your guys now that everyone's kind of written you off, and let's prove everyone wrong?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I met with Rob and AJ separately. I think those are 2 guys that, in a lot of ways can cement their legacy in college basketball with how they handle this time period between now and the end of the season. What kind of impact can they have? Can they elevate a team? And that's motivating in and of itself. And so with the whole group, though, it's a band of brothers. It's digging in. It's some guys that hasn't gone their way to this point. All right, well, guess what? You want more opportunity. You just got it. So now what are you going to do with it? And so, again, I'm extremely motivated, knowing that it's not going to be easy. But, nothing's ever really that easy. So, you got to figure it out. That's the bottom line. And like I said, I told our group yesterday, man, this is not new for me. I've been doing this. I coached in the minor leagues for 9 years. I've had my best player called up day of game multiple times. I've lost multiple players throughout seasons. You got to figure it out. You got to adjust on the fly. And, I try to say that to them so that they would have confidence to understand that they have a staff that, and it's not just me. I've got several guys who kind of their career path was that. And so drawing upon those past experiences for me gives me some confidence, and I hope it gives the group confidence as well. And, based on what I've seen in practice the last 2 days, I think, our group is ready.
How do you think this affects Richie's NBA draft status? Obviously, with coming off a major surgery like this, he's going to have. But when he's back to full strength, I assume it doesn't affect it at all?
Yeah, no, it's something that it's going to take a lot of due diligence, from his agent, from me as well, talking to different people. I do know that there's a boatload of people that love him. The good thing for Richie and what he did at Kansas, I think probably helped his draft stock more than probably anything else that could have happened for this season. And look, I mean, in today's day and age, what happened to his knee is not the end of the world by any stretch. People come back from it all the time. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. I'm hopeful that maybe it gives him a little bit more control in terms of what team he actually goes to, which in my estimation is one of the most important things any player going into the NBA could do, is to go to the right team, the right fit, the right organization. But we'll work hand in hand with his agency. I'll do anything I can to help him. I love that guy, and absolutely just wrecked that happened to him. But I think everyone that's followed Richie Saunders' career knows that if there's one guy in America that could work through some adversity and come back stronger, it's Richie Saunders, and I think everybody would agree with that.
All right, we'll finish with Jackson and then Patrick.
We've obviously played Arizona once this year, but in preparing for this rematch, have they added anything or changed it all in just preparing for them? Like, have they added anything over these past few weeks?
A few small wrinkles, but one thing I respect about Tommy is he's going to do what he does. And, you're going to have to stop it. And so I think there's a lot to be said about that. I think in terms of what could impact what they do or don't do differently, I mean, they're dealing with an injury with Koa Pete. His status seems up in the air for different things there. So we'll see. I think for the large majority, they're going to do what they do. And, this is a game where, we got to definitely worry about the game plan, because that's what you got to do in every game. But this is a game where we got to make it about BYU. We got to make it about us and not worry so much about what they're going to do.
All right, PK, you're up.
And Coach, I assume you saw what AJ said after the game Saturday. I'm paraphrasing, but they're asking about the guys who've had lesser roles now need to step up. He said something along the lines of he's seen them in practice and he has 100% confidence in them. I'm just wondering what you think, having a player who's obviously going to play in the NBA, saying he has confidence in these guys. To what level do they can draw some confidence from them, from their own teammates, and of course from the coaching staff?
Yeah, I think that's a huge comment for him to make, and it, belief is a beautiful thing. Like if I can quote Diljeet Taylor, the great coach here at BYU, that's pretty much her big mantra, is just how much she believes in her athletes. And so, I've learned a lot from her on that. But yeah, a guy like AJ, who's as talented as he is, to have belief in our guys, I think it speaks to what he sees every day in practice, as he mentioned. But listen, I wish Richie was still healthy. There's no getting around that. However, I'm a silver linings guy. I think it takes the pressure off some of the guys coming off the bench, knowing that they're going to get a little bit extended opportunities. People know I think we have to do it a little bit more. Obviously I was going really heavy on not using the bench a ton, and now we don't have a choice. And so I mean, there's a lot. I've seen this in the NBA world, man, where people go out and other guys step up. I've seen it time and time again. And so AJ adding fuel to that fire in a good way, I think, just is the more the merrier.
There's BYU basketball coach Kevin Young. When we come back, longtime radio announcer Mark Durrant, former player, now broadcasting the games, joins PK and I. More on the Cougars in Arizona tonight and how BYU can adjust now that they've lost Richie Saunders to an ACL injury. Durrant's coming up next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, we are brought to you by University of Utah Health. At University of Utah Health, hope is in our DNA. Learn more at uofuhealth.org. We are joined right now by Mark Durrant, BYU basketball radio analyst. Mark, good morning.
Hey, good morning, David and Pat. Always great to talk to you.
Good to talk to you. We need all of your experience and all of your analysis now to get this thing back on track. Cougar fans are wondering how far they can go. Before we look forward, do you want to pay homage to Richie Saunders? That is, so few players play 4 years at one school, and he was 3.5 seasons in and then had that happen.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I love Richie, and you're right. It's becoming more and more rare to see a guy play 4 years. And listen, Richie had opportunity and left a lot on the table to stay at BYU, and he felt like that was best for him and his family. He loves the school, and I love it, so that makes me love him even more. I mean, you can't help but feel that way. And you know, one of the things that's cool about a guy that stays at 4 years, at least for me, is you really get to know him. And I became, you know, I would call Richie a good friend, and his parents, they go on the road trips, and I spend a lot of time with them, and they've become dear friends to me. And so there's a level of investment with those guys that maybe you don't get with some other guys just because they're there longer. And I've gotten to know Richie and just think he's, you know, one of the best people, let alone basketball players. And I have a 17-year-old daughter that loves to go to the games, loves BYU, and her favorite, she told me the other day, her favorite all-time player is Richie Saunders, and Richie took the time to get to know her name. And when a famous college basketball player walks by and says, hey Stratton, how's it going? You know, that means a lot. And so, you know, I'm heartbroken for him. I'm not worried about his basketball career so much because I just know how hard he works. And if he wants something, he's going to work and get it, and he'll get over this injury. But, yeah, I mean, for BYU's prospects, it certainly is problematic. But aside from that, I'm just heartbroken for Richie and his family. But knowing them like I do, it's a minor speed bump as far as they're concerned. I mean, obviously, it's a tough situation to go through it at this time, but I think in the long run, Richie's going to be more than fine. But I mean, just on a personal level for me, as someone who is around the team and has spent a lot of time with Richie, in a lot of ways, it feels like your own kid that's having to go through this, and that's really hard. So I love the Saunders family. I love Richie, and wish them all the best. And it's about all you can say on these kind of moments. And so we'll see what happens with the Cougars going forward. I'm sure you want to talk about that as well. But yeah, I think Richie is. I've been doing it for 30 years. I've been watching it for 50, BYU basketball, and Richie's one of the greatest ever as far as people and players.
Yeah, I think the sad part is he'll be what he's going to be at the professional ranks, whether it's overseas, NBA, or a combination of both. But he'll never be able to get back what he's going to miss these next 5-6 weeks, and that's gone forever. And then that's what sucks the most. And so that's so unfortunate. Injuries happen, we know, or situations happen. You know, 50 Jimmers thing on Saturday was fun for everybody, but we all remember that Brandon Davies wasn't there for the stretch run, and they still went to the Sweet 16. And so the way I look at this is I'm not ruling out another Sweet 16 appearance in Kevin Young's second season. He brought guys in because he thought they can play. This guy is a professional coach who has evaluated and coached pro players, and now he's bringing these guys in, and there's a number of guys who haven't had the opportunity. Now the opportunity presents itself. He's forced, and this may be a little bit of a criticism of Kevin Young, but the bench wasn't developed the way it needed to be for whatever reason. Guys were in and out. It's like, now they know, okay, I've got to play. And this is a great opportunity for guys like Kostic and obviously Boscovich has played, but a couple other guys that can get some time now and have an opportunity to play, and maybe put yourself in that mindset of these guys. They can be a little more relaxed. Hey, I know I'm going to play because he didn't have anybody else. He's got to play me. So he brought me in here because I can shoot or whatever. So I'm really looking forward to seeing 2 or 3 of these guys who haven't been getting any minutes an opportunity now. And so that's why I have a level of confidence that this team could still compete as far as what they've got going. Speak to the guys that have not been the stars and have not been getting consistent time, what this opportunity presents to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right on, PK. I mean, you're a lot smarter than you look, man, because I think which isn't much. You hit it. You hit it right on. I mean, I've been in both spots where I'm a kind of a sub guy and also then a starter, regular minute guy, and it's a real mindset change for you. You're not playing, oh no, if I turn it over, I'm going to be sitting on the bench in 5 seconds. You know, it's
right.
I'm going to get extended minutes on the floor. I'm important to this team. I can make a mistake and still stay on the floor. And I think you even saw it in that Colorado game. I mean, Maras hits a couple threes,
right.
Kostic hits a couple, and so I think with that mentality change, that will help. And I mean, we'll see. I mean, the bottom line is BYU's got maybe the best player in the country, and then a guy that just had 39 Saturday. So you got two of the best players in the country. But you're right. It's been a weird season with the bench because, like, one game I'll think, oh, well, that guy, that's the guy. Like, Hadim Boop will have an amazing night. Like, let's go him. And then he doesn't play the next game. And it's been scattered, and I don't know what's necessarily going on behind the scenes with that. I mean, coaches are with the guys every day and know what are best for the team. But you're right. It's hard to really develop the Division I collegiate confidence that you need if you don't even know if you're going to get a minute or two in a game. And so listen, it's let's see if any of these guys can rise to the opportunities. I hate injuries more than anything, but then what an injury means for someone may be an opportunity, and it's certainly an opportunity for guys like Tyler Maras and Alexa Kostic and Mihailo Boskovic, and let's see if those guys can step up to the plate. Now, maybe you can somewhat, like in Colorado, you make some threes, and maybe, Richie makes 3 or 4 threes a game. Maybe you get 3 or 4 threes out of those guys. But what I really worry about losing Richie is just the consistent, relentless effort on defense, the relentless effort on the boards, the leadership. All those things are what I worried. I hope that BYU with AJ and Rob just picking up the slack even more, and then other guys stepping up their games offensively, that maybe you can try and fill in what Richie does offensively. But man, the other things that Richie does, I just don't know that they can really approximate what he put on the floor. So my expectations, to be honest, PK, are a lot lower for this team than a week ago. Even a week ago, they weren't playing particularly well. But with that said, you still got a month to go here. And I do think Kevin Young is a great coach, an experienced coach, and there are opportunities, and you do have two of the best players in the country. So let's not count them out completely. I don't think you are.
No.
And in a tournament setting, it's about matchups, but the room for error certainly is diminished for BYU, and they're going to have guys step up that previously have not done so, and so that's a question mark. So we'll see how it goes. It's going to be tough tomorrow night down at Arizona, but they're going to have opportunities to show what they're made of, and if they're resilient and can take advantage of the opportunities that have come, and see if they can come together as a team to find a way to win some games here at the end.
Hard to put this all on one guy because they don't have another Saunders, so it's going to have to be spread around, but I don't know that it's going to be spread around evenly. And it is hard to be the fourth or fifth guy out there on the court, and I think Kennard Davis Jr. has done a good job of moving the ball a lot of times when maybe he could have shot it, but man, AJ and Rob Wright are over there, and Saunders is over there. Maybe you ought to move the ball. Maybe you ought to throw a lob to Keita. Now is there room for him to not just shoot threes, but to drive the ball? And if he can pass off the dribble, he might really open our eyes. Or am I just dreaming and asking way too much of him?
No, listen, these guys, all these guys have played in, Europe or a high-level basketball in some capacity or another. They weren't recruited because they're nice guys necessarily. They have skills, they have abilities, and a lot of times your role is limited to a certain thing, shooting threes or whatever, and you have a lot more breadth of talent than just that. And a guy like Alexa Kostic, I think, is capable. He's actually pretty strong kid and quick. I thought he played terrific defense in that Colorado game, so he can, maybe do some things that you wouldn't think about. You think, well, he's just kind of this 3-point shooter. And Tyler Maras, I watched him last year at Idaho and playing BYU. I thought he was a super hard-nosed guy that could really take it to the rim and do other things. So I think there's more to their games than you think. And Mihailo Boskovic, I think, it's just about kind of reining him in. I think he's got real talent. And so, you've got guys that I think have the ability and skill set to really broaden their game and help the team in ways that they haven't before. But like we've been talking about, when it's a minute or two here or there, it's hard to really feel comfortable to do different things than what you're expected to do. But when you're on the floor and you get confidence and you're comfortable, you kind of, the game slows down a little bit for you, then it's your full game that's on display rather than just one or two specific aspects of it.
Specifically against Arizona, it seems like they have 10 guys who are 6'10 and above, right? We'll see who's available because I know they had some injury issues the other day against Texas Tech and the loss of McHale with a couple of the big guys. And we know Wright can get in to the bucket, so not easily, but he has the ability. At the same time, he's shooting 46% from three. So what do you think about maybe having DeBonsa initiate the offense a little bit more and trying to find Wright because he's short, and against those tall guys, against Arizona, he was getting in, but finishing was another issue, and maybe have him spot up because 46% from three, I mean, obviously that's off the charts. So maybe go in that direction. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Again, I think we saw that at Colorado. We've seen it more and more lately. AJ had, I think, 8 assists or something like that against Colorado. And Rob Wright, he started out the season, I thought, I don't know if this guy is going to be a three-point threat because he was not great early, but he has found something, and he just cannot miss from the three-point line. So I think AJ likes to have the ball in his hands. I think, with his size, he can see over the defense. He's a good passer. He can create on his own. So, he's once he starts driving, you watch defenses, like all 5 guys, wherever they're on the floor on defense, are looking at AJ. And they're like, when do I go help? I'm watching this guy. He demands a lot of attention. So, if he can draw the double or even triple and then pass out of that to open shooters like we've been discussing, Russ and Kostic and others, or Rob Wright. Rob's probably not going to be left alone a lot, but man, he's been so good from the 3-point line, and clearly he can get in the paint. And even against bigger teams, he's been smarter when he does get in the paint, not kind of forcing things as much and making good decisions himself. So I think that's exactly the right way, is kind of let AJ put the ball in his hands, let him be the decision maker, use Rob's talents, and then after that, you're kind of finding for role guys to just step in and make the shots when the shots are there. Tyler Morris and Alexei Kostic should never shoot a contested shot ever. It's good. All things we've been talking about, there's going to be plenty of open shots for them. So wait for those opportunities, take your time, knock down those shots so you can punish teams that try to stop AJ and Rob. But really it's about AJ and Rob doing their thing, and I think that's the right approach for BYU going forward. Get the ball in AJ's hands, let him be a scorer or a distributor as he sees fit, depending on what the defense is going to do to him. Colorado did a heck of a job on him, but because they did a heck of a job on him, Rob Wright gets 39 points. And so you can make those kind of decisions and see how it develops. Obviously, without Richie on the floor, you're going to have to figure out exactly how you want to do things. And AJ, without having Richie to kick to or take attention from, is it's going to be easier to stop AJ because you can focus more on him. So, I mean, that was a lot of word salad there, but the point is you got to go with the guys that got you there, AJ and Rob, and let them do their thing and put them in the best situation possible for them to succeed. And then we'll just see how it kind of goes forward for BYU without Richie.
You don't get a lot of practice time, and coaches have to decide how to spend it. I think they should spend some time practicing for box and 1, diamond and 1, triangle and 2, because I think they're going to see it. I think that with this injury, I don't see how somebody isn't going to throw that. And I don't know which team, and I don't know when, but they got 6 games. You got to figure they got at least 2 in the conference tournament, another game 2 or 3 in the NCAA tournament. I think they're going to see something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great coaches. You look at at least the Big 12. It's like a list of Hall of Fame coaches. You got Kelvin Sampson. I mean, go down the list, and Bill Self, and so they've been around long enough. They've played against a lot of good players and know what works. And so you've seen a lot of different approaches to AJ. I thought Colorado actually did about the best job I've seen on him. They had a kid that was tall and pretty quick and kind of stayed on his feet, so he didn't. And of course, he was getting a lot of help too. They would help when he needed it. But so you at this point, AJ's seen pretty much everything. I haven't seen a boxing one or triangle two, and maybe that's what they do now because you're focusing more on stopping one or two guys rather than three. And I wouldn't be surprised. And if you get in the NCAA tournament, it's partly because they have a great coach and people are looking for ways to neutralize what you do best. But hopefully at this point, regardless of what they throw at AJ, he's kind of seen the gambit. Even if they go to like a triangle two and they're doubling him or whatever, I mean, he'll figure it out. But the point is, every game's a challenge when you have that visibility, top draft pick, in the conversation for National Player of the Year. If I'm a coach, I've got the very first thing, and the first five things I have to do is stop that guy. And they're really good coaches, so you'll see different ways. But if you're that guy, you find a way to play against anything that anybody throws at you. If you're that good, you'll find a way. And even if it's getting somebody else the points, you find a way to if someone's going to throw something at you, they're going to have to give up something. And anyway, I think AJ is remarkable as young as he is to be able to kind of recognize what teams have tried to throw at him and still have had such great success.
I know the goal at the start of the year, everyone talked Final Four. It felt like that really cooled off with the 4-game losing streak, losing 5 out of 6. But don't you think as we sit here right now, there are going to be teams in the Sweet 16 we can't predict, you can't guarantee. Shouldn't the Sweet 16 still be the goal for this team?
I think so. I think they're good enough to do that. And, tournament a lot is about matchups too, and who's hot. But again, I go back to the fact that if you tell me before the season that we're going to have two of the best players in the country on your team, and then you just kind of have to find a way with the other guys, that's rare to have one really good player, and to have two like that is impressive. So I think they can. It's going to be tough at Arizona. I don't have a lot of high expectations, but then you've got Iowa State and Texas Tech, who are obviously awesome, but they're at home, so that's a reasonable prospect, and maybe you get one or two of those, and that would be a huge win. The road games are going to be a challenge at West Virginia and Cincinnati. Nothing's a given for this team now, but if you could find a way to go 500 the rest of the way and win a game or two in the conference tournament, I think you'll have had enough time to kind of figure out what you're going to do post Richie. You've got two of the best players in the country. Who's to say you can't win a few games in the NCAA tournament? But yeah, you're right. I mean, I was all in on Final Four. Maybe I jinxed the guys, but I just loved that team at the start of the year. And so I had super high expectations, and the reality has changed. I mean, they're a different team right now. And so you have to alter your expectations. But I think a Sweet 16 would be awesome, and it is within reach for this team. I mean, we're going to learn a lot about how this team is going to be in the next week or two post Richie. But hopefully, I mean, that's my hope, that they find a way to get right and play well going into the tournament. And in the tournament, who knows what can happen. I mean, you can ride really good players as long as they can, do their thing. And we've seen that many times in the tournament. Somebody gets hot and you can make a little bit of a run. But we'll see. I mean, you're absolutely right. My expectations have lessened, but they're not gone for this team in any way.
Mark, we appreciate it as always. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be listening to you down the stretch here.
All right, my friends. I love you guys. Appreciate all that you do and always being so kind to me and having me on, so thanks.
There's Mark Durrant, BYU radio voice. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are on the way.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
It's a true story to when I stopped drinking.
Okay.
So I wasn't playing as the season started.
Yeah.
So I needed to give up something.
Yeah.
I got to sacrifice something, and I actually did two things that I very love, and that is drinking wine and my chocolate chip cookies for dessert. I completely took it out.
LeBron James on what he's given up in his diet. He's in his 40s, trying to stay on track.
Well, yeah, to be an NBA player.
Right, yeah.
He takes a lot of people don't like him and all.
Yep.
But then there's plenty of times he shows himself as just another guy.
True story.
And
it's a mixed bag.
Yeah,
and that's one of them right there. Chocolate chip
like
cookies.
This guy down the street.
Who hasn't been there.
And then you see him when he was in Miami. Guy hits a pudgy, fat white dude, hits a half-court shot. LeBron tackles him, because he won a car or whatever
he did. Yeah.
And then you see him when that one kid hit the home run. I think it was Davis for Cleveland against the Cubs. He's in the box celebrating wildly, just like Joe Fan down the street. Yeah.
The parts are really relatable, but there are people, he's been outspoken politically, so that's going to irritate some people. And he's won a lot, so there's going to be some jealousy. And let's be honest, he and Rich Paul figured out how to leverage his/their power, and they've tampered. And he carries weight within the NBA, and all those things give him a chance to offend a different group of people. But you're right, then you have all these other things, like he celebrates a baseball win like 50 other thousand people in the ballpark, and he skips chocolate chip cookies. The one thing he is not, he just doesn't seem to be aloof. He just doesn't seem to be, that's why he can be such a regular guy, is he's not aloof and above it all.
Wait. You're taking a shot at me.
No.
Because I'm aloof. I see what you did.
Aloof isn't accurate. Aloof isn't accurate for you. You're a whole... There's no one word that captures what you are.
Oh,
You're a paragraph, baby.
I'm a paragraph?
You're a little on the shy side. You're a little sensitive.
I'm a punctuation mark.
You're a little focused. You're a little intense.
As long as I have a little bit of Monica by my side.
Okay, there it is. Laker Governor Jeannie Buss explained the 2025 decision to sell the Buss family majority stake in the team to Mark Walter, adding her late father, Jerry Buss, would have been supportive at the move to sell 50% of their 66% stake in the team. What was important to him was the Lakers stay at the top of the NBA, and stay at the top of the NBA, you need to have the resources. You need to have everybody pulling together, and he'd want that for the Lakers because the Lakers are his legacy. Is Mark Walter going to do for the Lakers what he's done for the Dodgers? Because there's no cap. It's a different beast. Because if he has, then I could see. I think it's way more complicated than that. But I can see your point. That part of it, her dad would definitely still want the Lakers to be the big dog.
Well, of course, Larry Miller wants the Jazz
legacy.
to be.
Yeah,
Jerry Colangelo owned the Suns for a while. He would want that. Yeah, we understand
so
that.
So is Walter going to be able to pull that off?
Well, I think it's much harder because of financial restrictions, and there's only 10 players that can really, really make a difference, and they're all not going to play on the same team. The Dodgers can get so many of them, and then combine with the Japanese market now, they get one, and then they get two pitchers who make a big difference.
Yeah.
And they're Japanese, and they're going to go play with where their countryman is, and there obviously is a connection there. There's a lot of Asian folk, Japanese in the LA area. You don't have that as much in basketball. I think it's, even without a financial guideline or cap or whatever, I still think it would be harder. Because we saw in basketball for a while just putting a dream team, an Olympic team together 2 weeks before, it's where you can kind of do that easier in baseball. Throw a lineup there, and if you got 7 guys who are really, really good, they'll find a way to mesh. It's easier to do it.
Yeah. The double play combination has to mesh. Outfielders have to call each other off. But it's one-on-one, pitcher versus batter.
Yeah, and you got 6 weeks of spring training to figure it out, where you work about an hour and a half a day.
If that. Classic. The Jazz have announced that Jaren Jackson Jr. underwent successful surgery to remove a growth in his left knee. The team said he'd be reevaluated in 4 weeks, and he is out for the season.
Yeah, I think we kind of knew that, didn't we?
Yeah, it's official now. And Mark Cuban. We talked about this in some of the show yesterday, him sticking up for tanking. NBA should embrace tanking because it's about going to the game's about the experience. It's about having hope. He says they can't remember the dunks or shots. What they remember is who they were with, their family, friends, a date. That's what makes the experience special. The worst bleep that the NBA dishes out is if you don't lie to your fans about what you're doing, even though it's obvious to them, you get fined, and they threaten you with losing picks. And Jazz fans looking at Mark Cuban nodding. The last part especially, yes.
Well, I think that to a degree, you can't become a joke. And I covered the Clippers in the 80s and early 90s, and they were a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Smith can talk about that. He was broadcaster. And so with that in mind, I think that what the Jazz have done has been painful, but the trade combined with a potential top 5 pick this June will set this place alive again, and you'll be out of it. And it is a way. And I saw this idea of not having a draft. Okay, MLB didn't have a draft, I think, until like 65, 66. You know who the first draft pick was?
I do. I can't remember who it is, but it's somebody famous. Was it Bill Buckner?
No.
No, Rick Monday. Rick Monday. Yes, Rick Monday.
You know where Rick Monday plays his college ball?
Arizona State.
Absolutely. And so somebody said, well, yeah, they didn't have a draft, and the Yankees won more than half the World Series.
Careful what you wish for.
Right.
All right, DJ and PK.
Hashtag college basketball.
That would be a great atmosphere if they were still undefeated. The fact they've lost to, it doesn't matter. Bottom line is it's not like, we're going to play extra hard because we've lost. Once you play the game, you got to execute the game plan. So every team needs wins this time of year, especially in our league. The standings are tight. Everyone's playing for something. So I've never bought into I say it to my guys all the time. I wake up motivated, and so I don't need extra motivation. I'm sure they don't either. We're hungry. They're hungry. It's going to be a good ball game.
There's head coach of the BYU Cougars, Kevin Young, talking about 23rd-ranked Cougars going to Arizona to face the 4th-ranked Wildcats tonight. Arizona trying to win the regular season title there. BYU, I guess they're playing for seeding in the conference tournament. They're not going to be in the top 4, it wouldn't seem, but maybe in the next 4. Get a bye through the first day.
Well, I think we
saw momentum.
An opportunity just very last night. College basketball is the most volatile, unpredictable sport of the major sports we have. I've been saying that for years, based on experience for covering it for years at the front row as a beat writer, and then most especially out on the road. And I'm obviously the Cougars are the road team tonight, but they still have 2 home games against ranked teams. And look at last night. Last night was the classic example. Nebraska goes to unranked Iowa, loses. Texas Tech goes to unranked Arizona State, loses. Toppin got hurt in that second half too, their premier player. And so we'll see, along with the Flemings kids, so we'll see what happens there. North Carolina, now of course they have an injury to Wilson. They go across up the road a little bit to NC State, get worked. St. Louis, ranked, goes to Rhode Island, loses. Louisville goes to SMU, loses. Stop me if you are not catching a point, and I will illustrate it even more, because I've got one more. I'm not even done yet.
Do it.
Wisconsin goes to Ohio State and gets worked 86-69. There's like 6 road-ranked teams last night go and lose. So there is a ton of hope for the Cougars. Probably, maybe I wouldn't bet tonight for sure. But Colpete isn't playing, and then they got another rotation guy who's out, so they're not at full strength either. And then there's the fickle nature of hitting shots versus not hitting shots. So, sure, expectations maybe have been reset, not by Kevin Young. He ain't resetting them. I understand that, at least not publicly. But by far, all is not lost for these guys.
What those half dozen games had in common there is ranked team goes on road and loses to conference opponent.
Well, it's what I just said, but
BYU is on the road tonight, which is why not to put the hope there, but they do have 2 ranked teams who will be on the road coming into the Marriott Center.
Said.
So why not have the hope? Why not?
You have to. Yeah. I've got it. I've got it for them.
Home is where the wins are. Rick Majerus a long time ago.
And it becomes imperative that they get at least one, if not both of those. And we'll see what happens to Toppin, because that's only at the end of next week, basically, with Texas, 2 weeks for Texas Tech. We'll see what his injury is. I have no idea of the severity of it. I just know I didn't watch the game, but I saw that they said he went out in the second half.
He ended up with 20 points, played his 32 minutes, but to your point, if it sidelines him a week, that's big news for BYU. That's all it would take.
And
Mick Cronin, did you see him snapping at people after the game and sending his own player to the locker room?
He's going nuts.
He is.
You're not in the student section chanting Booker's name.
I could give a rat's ass about the other team's student section.
I just meant the overall the way that you.
I would like to give you a kudos for the worst question I've ever been asked.
All right.
Did you like
You should take it.
the preparation of the...
Do you really think I care about the other team's
No, I don't.
student
I don't
section?
think you care about the other.
Are you
team.
raising your voice at me?
No, I'm just.
Yeah, you are. Come on, dude.
No,
Come on, yes, you are. Everybody's standing here listening to you. Everybody, this is on camera. They can hear you. I answered the question. I could give a rat's ass about the other team's student section. I coach UCLA. I don't care about Michigan State students. I mean, who cares?
Well, actually, I think you do, Mick. You care about everything. You rip the conference office nonstop. You rip the schedule makers. You rip the media staff. Are you raising your voice at me? Oh, stop it. Good grief. Is he ever happy? I mean, actually, it was a great question because he got a great response.
Well, I assume it's a media guy, a reporter, not some fan dude. He feels insulted.
Yeah, he did.
So he's not going to respond. Gee, thanks. He's going to respond in kind to the you insulted him, whether you raise your voice or not. So if he would have calmed down, if he would have been in a completely whisper, would it have made it better? He felt insulted, and he's a human being. I mean, it's in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing.
It's nothing, but it's just there's something with Mick Cronin every week.
And they're going back and forth on, these Pac-12 teams on these away travelings, which they're obviously a long way to go. And one of the basketball dudes who makes his living off of essentially now tweeting about college basketball, one of those gurus, I can't remember, Rothstein or somebody, said that these Pac-12 teams who are now in the Big Ten will never win.
There's John Rothstein.
A regular season title because their records have sucked. But what's interesting is it's not affecting the women's teams.
UCLA is dominant.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to get a 1 seed, and it's not just them. Well, what's the difference?
More separation at the top of women's basketball, where there's more parity than there used to be.
Okay, but that has nothing to do
parity.
with travel, though.
You have enough of a talent gap, you can overcome the travel. I mean,
clearly they do. I don't know if the travel is an issue, though, but that would be the one theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, both LA teams are usually really good. Now, with Watkins, she's hurt, so she's not playing for SC this year. But this Betts gal, they got Jaime Hawkins' sister. They got Neepkins, who played at Utah, who transferred down there. And that's a lot of talent. I understand that. But it's interesting that the men suck and they not just, but the talent gap, they're getting destroyed.
Yeah.
They're not even coming close to winning.
If you have the best team in the league by a wide margin, maybe you can overcome that and that.
But maybe it's not that big of a deal either.
Right, because I was about to go to other leagues because this isn't the only league now where there's a lot of, Arizona has to travel a lot, and they've been really good. Now, they have been beaten on the road, and I don't know that they're going to win the league, but they're awful close to the top.
They've only lost one road game.
Right. Right, and it's going to go with Houston right down to the end here, and we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
So there's probably a little
phenomenon.
bit that the West Coast teams aren't at their best right now, and then the travel hurts them even more.
I don't know. And why aren't they? Why aren't
Did you
they
like
better?
the court storming with the Devils?
I didn't see it.
Oh, yeah, they got into it. They got down there. They were pumped beating Texas Tech. 72-67 in Tempe.
200 people, 200 students?
I didn't check the attendance.
I did not watch the game, as I said.
I just saw a clip of it. Utah's at West Virginia tonight at 6:30. That's on FS1. BYU's at Arizona at 7 o'clock on ESPN. Utah State hosts Boise State at 8:30 on FS1. Right after the Utah game is done, Utah State takes over. Scotty G will have the pregame show at 8 o'clock here on The Zone. Boise State's been a bit of a wild card this year. Utah State went up to Idaho and got them pretty good. Now, the Broncos.
That's because they gave free tickets or something to the students, and they all drove up there, right? Wasn't that?
And then they tried to pull them back, and yeah. What do you mean you want to come up to? Well, you had free tickets for students. Well, that Boise State only. Well, you didn't say that originally.
I know that was funny. The classic Aggies. They're probably going to run up the score again, and Rose there, the Boise State coach, come pitch a fit, and come on, like Penny Hardaway did. Obviously, I'm kidding about running up the score.
They are all alone in first place right now because Grand Canyon went to San Diego State and beat the Aztecs and gave them their third loss, 73-63. So the Aggies sitting all alone atop the Mountain West right now with 2 losses. The Aztecs sitting on 3 losses now. DJ and PK.
#NFL.
Longtime Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Evans, the franchise's all-time leading scorer, plans to play a 13th NFL season this fall. Who he will play with, to be determined. He missed 10 games last year, had a broken clavicle and a hamstring injury. He will entertain remaining with Tampa if a deal can be struck, but there's a chance Mike Evans could be on the move.
Yeah, I think he'd be a Hall of Famer, right?
I would think so.
You know who his college quarterback was?
I do not.
Johnny Manziel.
Oh, really? There you go. Yeah, Mike Evans has been awesome for a long period of time.
Dude.
Yeah. Big guy, and he will go and get the ball and make his quarterback look good. DJ and PK.
#college football.
Michigan lost the commitment of a 4-star quarterback prospect. Peter Borke yesterday. He was considered to be a top 10 prospect in the 2027 class and a top 150 overall player. He had committed to Sharon Moore, and now he's not going to Michigan.
Well, I don't blame him.
Kyle's got his guy, and he wasn't going to play right away, so go somewhere where he can play right away.
For Whittingham.
Oh, okay.
I was listening to your boy yesterday driving home. Your no-state taxes as every free agent signs with the L.A. or Northern California teams. What's his face? The Herd. And he had on Urban. Oh, I talked to Kyle. Oh, man, these guys are hungry. He's excited. Did Kyle ever coach a team that isn't hungry?
And excited.
Here's the bottom line on all this. Utah pissed him off.
Yes, big time.
And he's ready to stick it to him.
Yes.
The world.
Yeah.
In my limited conversations with him since he's gone.
Yes. He can't wait to win big and have somebody up on the hill sit there and look at him. And
now, I'm not saying what they did was wrong. I'm just saying the way he did it.
Kyle's mad.
Yeah.
Kyle is mad.
Yeah.
And it's not just him. It's the other Whittinghams.
Oh, his mother.
There have been Whittinghams talking out in the community.
His grandchild that was just born a couple of months ago.
Furious!
Oh,
livid.
Man.
Really doesn't even have words to express.
He's got hand expression.
How livid. Oh, yeah.
Just crapping and crying the whole time, man.
What am I doing here? What do you got for Mountain West news there, Yak?
So Northern Illinois is supposed to be joining the Mountain West this coming season. They have just lost their head coach. Thomas Hammock is leaving to join the Seattle Seahawks in an administrative role. They're going to elevate their defensive coordinator to be the interim head coach for their first season in the MWC.
There you go.
I seen that.
DJ and PK.
#Major League Baseball.
Major League Baseball Executive Director Tony Clark resigned after an internal investigation revealed an inappropriate relationship with his sister-in-law, who was hired by the union in 2023. Tony Clark is out.
So yesterday you're all excited because of the high school connection. I haven't heard you mention it.
Valhalla High! What up?
That's Valhalla Low.
Yeah, well, sister-in-law, huh? Tony. This is how the Norsemen roll, huh?
Now, Michael told Fredo and Vito told Sonny, don't ever go outside the family. But we didn't mean like
that. That's what they meant.
Not with the major league.
That was not what we were getting at.
I'm with the MLBPA here. Come on.
Right.
Vito was talking about business. What are you? Well, never mind. We know what you're doing. Don't explain it. We got to figure it out. Walker Buehler has joined the Padres after 8 seasons in L.A. He's on a minor league deal with an invite to spring training in an attempt to make the Padres roster. Think he's got anything left?
I don't know, but for a while there, he looked like he was going to be a superstar. He rose to the top, and then he had an injury, and just almost as quickly was gone. He was their ace for a bit.
He was awesome, on fire, but injuries and pitchers, right? They come and they go.
You just don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, look at their pitching coach, too, Pryor for the Dodgers. Same thing. Him and Kerry Wood for the Cubs looked like they were going to be Schilling and Johnson for a bit, and injuries took that down.
DJ and PK. Team USA men's hockey will face Sweden today. Sweden rolling through their matchup yesterday. So it's now USA and Sweden in the men's hockey quarterfinals. 1 o'clock today. Is that 1 o'clock Mountain Time?
Yeah, 1:10 Mountain Time. Yeah. By the way, Michaela Schifrin just won another gold medal in giant slalom. So she's now the most decorated alpine skier in U.S. Olympic history.
She's from Alpine?
No, she's not from Alpine.
Oh.
Alpine skiing.
JJ Peterka, Utah Mammoth, all done. He's on his way. He's on his way home here shortly. Germany just lost to Slovakia this morning, 6-2 in the first of the men's quarterfinals. So,
well, if he's on his way home, what was he playing for the German team for?
That doesn't even make sense. Coming back to Utah. They're all done in the Olympics.
Still got another week to go, right?
It all wraps up Sunday.
A week from tonight?
No, it wraps up Sunday.
No. Before the NHL starts.
Oh.
Yeah, we're a week out.
Yeah. Yes.
Restart.
It is 1 week to the next Utah Mammoth game. You're right. Yes, 1 week from tonight, the Mammoth play. DJ and PK, that's what's trending. It's brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. All right, the big game tonight, BYU and Arizona. Tim LaComb at 8:30 talking Cougar basketball. Bruce Pascoe joins us at 9 o'clock. Arizona Wildcats basketball beat writer for the Arizona Daily Star. How healthy are the Wildcats? We know there's health issues with BYU. We will talk with Bruce coming up at 9 o'clock. It's Win Tickets Wednesday. We got tickets to see Post Malone with Jelly Roll and Carter Faith at Rice-Eccles Stadium July 28th. We will give those tickets away coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. Stick around for that. The question of the day is next.
This is JJ and Alex.
I got this. I want you to go off a little bit more about how the rebuild is over. A trade like this hits harder when your team has come as far as the Jazz have come, and especially Canton George.
What the Jazz did today was take a huge leap forward to the point of not only is the rebuild over, this is who we are. We have potentially 3 All-Stars in our starting lineup with young players who have the potential to also become All-Stars, Ace Bailey and whoever they're going to take in this upcoming draft.
Right.
We're not only going to compete and try to make the playoffs next year, we're going to be a force. Take us seriously now. We have a lineup that you must take seriously. We're going to compete at a high level moving forward, and you don't have to worry about all this stuff and all this pain. The pain is gone. Now you're going to enjoy the fruits of your labor. This team's going to be really, really good next year as long as they stay healthy.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 7 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The KSL Sports Zone and BI Meals are honoring people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the BI Meals Hero of the Week at KSLSports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. It's the BI Meals Hero of the Week. Question of the morning, PK. It sits right in front of us. If BYU upsets Arizona, where would it rank for best regular season wins in program history? Tony, the biggest. They'd have to play a perfect game and play defense to keep the game in the 60s to have any chance. Tony doesn't think it's happening, but taking down number 4 in a road game?
Well, especially right now after the loss of Richie Saunders and just the emotional loss of what Richie Saunders represents to the BYU basketball program. The little Zoom thing that he did yesterday went on for about 12, 13 minutes, and I always try to get on, and I asked a question about the reserves. And so someone asked a question, obviously the first question was about Saunders or whatever, and he says, well, I need to address this. I'm going to address this either way. And he goes in that basically, and there's foundation pieces when a coach takes a job. Steve Cleveland, a guy like Mark Bigelow, Kelly Wesley, Travis Hansen, those guys who built up the program. Now, he had it. Steve had it, an enormous rebuild. Kevin Young didn't have to that. Mark Pope didn't leave it in the shape that Coach Cleveland had, right? But there's foundation guys, and they're your first guys. And so Kevin Young said, this is the guy who got the Kevin Young era going. And he's right. And especially now, and none of us care what religion they are right now. I don't think so. But, I mean, tonight might be the first time in the history of the program they do not play an LDS guy. Again, nobody cares. It's just an oddity for an LDS school that has been like 95% of the guys used to be.
I think some people care.
Well, if they win and they keep keep the standards, who cares? I don't. Some people do, I'm sure, but certainly we don't. But that's another a rung. And staying there the entire time, start to finish, without transferring. So the emotional blow of his departure and injury, I could argue, comes close to equating the talent loss. Because this is a severe blow to have somebody who really, really represents what BYU is all about now done, right? And they're going to have to get over that. So you factor that in going into Tucson, which has been a legendary program now since the 80s, since Lute Olson. I can remember. I was living there.
It's now 40 plus years.
40 years. There you go.
It's over 40.
Lute Olson with one of the greatest quotes. I'm living down there working, and he says to the people of Tucson, you better get your tickets now because in a year or two they're going to be really tough to come by. I'm paraphrasing, but that was the essence of the quote, and he was right. I mean, he called it, boom, and he built the powerhouse, and that's, Lute Olson, a guy like Sean Elliott would be his guy, Tucson guy, and who stayed. A lot of those guys, like Fat Lever, was an NBA player, a Tucson guy, went up to Tempe. They don't do that anymore. They all go down. Cole Pete, who's not playing tonight, is going to be an NBA player, Phoenix guy. You go south. That's the way it is there. Richard Jefferson. The list goes on and on. Mike Bibby. I can name 20 other guys, right? So to get this and what they're trying to accomplish, yeah, it has to rank right up there. We know that the Cougs went up to Spokane when they were undefeated.
Oh, yeah. Durant's right there. I'd say just behind the 2020 game when we whooped on Gonzaga, and they were number 1 in the country with only 1 loss.
Right.
So this would be, in his mind, the second best win in program
history. But I think this is bigger because BYU basketball is bigger. And BYU at that time, that was a shock the world kind of thing. I understand that. But it wasn't like they had a lot of attention. This is a program that had Final Four aspirations, and now everybody has reduced them. Well, will they even get to the Sweet 16? Probably not. You just said, I think they have a 50-50 chance. You said I was being generous.
I think you are.
Right. So you're right there.
Yeah.
You lowered expectations
100%.
significantly.
Yep.
I'm lowering them because I thought before it would have been about 80, 90%. But I still think it's 50-50.
The thing we haven't talked about much, and we'll get to this and it'll play out and become a little more obvious, is the committee has a history of when there's a major injury, looking at the team's record from that point forward. I think they could be doing it with North Carolina. I think they'll be doing it with BYU. And so if BYU is 4-4, are they going to look at BYU? I don't know what the math would be on yet. Are they going to look at if BYU's 23-7? Are they going to look at that, or are they going to say, no, they're 4-4 since Saunders is out? Now, I think what you said yesterday carries weight. Hey, everybody's going to want DeBonsa in the tournament. Are you crazy? And plus, there'll be a recognition that in any one game, DeBonsa can go nuts and win it. You know, if the guy puts up 40 and they upset somebody, well, we all know how that's happened. You know, a best player
and
takes
Rob Wright
over.
puts up 20, 25, 30.
Right, exactly. So it's not impossible. But when we're sitting here thinking, are they a 5 or a 6 seed? Well, if they don't, to what we were talking about in the last game, if they don't get an Iowa State when Iowa State comes in, or if they don't get a Texas Tech when Tech comes in, then how much are they going to get punished? I think we saw that the
I think I don't know they'll be punished. I think they'll be rewarded accordingly.
With a 5 seed or 6 or 7
Well,
or 8.
I have to see what they do.
Okay. Yeah.
I think a 4 is still in play if they kick butt down the stretch. I got to admit, listening to Kevin Young yesterday had me fired up. And because he made me look good. I'll tell you right now.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
How did Kevin Young make you look good?
Because I said they've miscast Kennard Davis as a stand-in-the-corner three-point shooter.
Yeah.
And Kevin Young said, I've done him a disservice. That's a quote.
Right.
And I thought, I know ball.
Nice. Yeah.
That's not who this kid is. But yet with the other 3 guys, he had no room to operate.
Exactly.
Now he's going to have room to operate. So we will see the real Kennard Davis please stand.
Will the real Kennard Davis please take the ball to the hoop?
Yes, that's what he's talking about. And so I'm fired up to see what this kid can do now. He's going to be Kevin Young said he's unlocked.
For a guy that loves to use nicknames, you don't call him Moo a lot.
Well, it's not his nickname.
It's not my bingo.
It's not his nickname. It has to be his nickname.
I'm just saying.
He came up with J-Slow, so he used J-Slow.
Well, maybe Moodah.
Moo Davis.
D.A.?
You got it.
Moodah?
Okay.
I don't know. Kennard Davis.
I think that as the 4th guy, we all remember when Chris Bosh was talking about how hard it was to be the 3rd guy with the Heat, with Wade and LeBron, and to figure out, like, you got to have an impact on the game, but you also got to make sure the big guy gets the ball. When you're the 4th guy, you just got to move the ball and take the occasional open shot. And so Kennard Davis Jr. is going from a spot where stand in the corner, hit the occasional wide open shot, but move the ball, and he's done that, but now DeBonsa's on the other side of the court, and he's doubled or they're helped, so it's essentially a double. They throw the ball to you, and you got one guy running you to close out. If you got time, you hit the 3.
Okay.
You
now
blow by him.
Don't try to.
Take
I see
over.
what you're doing here. You're trying to supersede me because I'm not a basketball guy, and I got one right. Now you're throwing like 14 jargons of basketball in that one thought to one up me. Isn't it, Yak? Isn't it clear?
First off,
you just did. Dribble, drive, penetrate. You're diving. You're flashing. You're showing. You're doing all these things. I'm trying to catch up, and I'm 20 little conveyor belt chocolates behind.
Okay, first off, that's an excellent reference.
First of all,
that scene of I Love Lucy is an all-timer. Go look at it on YouTube right now. It's hilarious, out of context with no episode. However, first off, you are wrong when you said
I'm
not.
wrong.
Yeah, when you said I'm not a basketball guy. You are too.
Not compared to you.
You make good points all the time.
Not compared to you. You're an expert.
Stop.
No, I will not stop.
Stop.
I will raise my voice. I will not stop.
Well, I'm Mick Cronin. I'm about to get angry.
He should have said to Cronin, "You want a piece of me, Mick? Let's go." Cut me, Mick.
I raised my voice because you're a bleep at all of these interview sessions. Could you just be normal for once?
Cut
like
me, Mick.
300 other coaches out here.
A classic line. Cut me, Mick.
That would have been cool.
And he didn't do it.
For all the positivity, there's just a lot of doubt. Gordon, this is all a big if with Saunders out. If BYU upsets Arizona, a big if with Saunders out. But we got to talk with Bruce Pascoe here at 9:00 and find out how many Wildcats are out for this game.
Well, they listed 2 on their injury spiel.
Yeah, Koa Pete and Arista D.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're both rotation guys. They play 8 men, so they're down to 6 rotation guys.
Right, and Pete is.
But do they have someone?
Pete hit enormous shots here in pro.
Do they have someone
Did you
ready?
go to that game?
I was there, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Do they have someone ready to step up the way we're talking about Kennard Davis?
That's what we need to find out from
Bruce
Well,
Pascoe.
I'm not as intimately familiar with their team, obviously.
So good to have a beat writer on at 9 o'clock to answer these
I'm
questions.
fairly familiar with their team,
Yeah.
but not to that degree. I don't know because I only know the guys who play. I'm not there practice, and I don't talk to
Bruce Pascoe on a regular basis.
Tommy Lloyd. But Tim LaComb does, and so he'll have an idea at the bottom of the hour coming up. Because they have a connection. I have spoken to Lloyd in the past, particularly when it was at Gonzaga. So we'll see. And I go back in these situations to Coach Cleveland's first year. He takes a group of ragtag guys into the pit, and they had won something like 41 games in a row at home. And they were really good. And the Cougars, to my shocking amazement, won that game.
So you never really know.
That game, I've covered, how many college basketball games have I literally covered courtside or in the arena over all these years? I couldn't even begin to count. And
my
game,
guess right off the top was 30 games a year times 20 years would be 600.
Yeah.
And then a handful sprinkled in around that. So I'm not.
Right, and I was a utility guy a little bit down in California.
So I was about to say,
I did some SC
if you
games.
went to LNU when they were good.
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
So if you're at 750, I wouldn't be surprised.
Right. And regular season games, no. But that game stands out to me. I covered all of Van Horn's games. There's like maybe 2 in a regular season that I can remember. And it was right at the end. And, I can remember tournament with the Van Horn at the buzzer, obviously, and then and the NCAAs and stuff. But I'm talking a regular season game. And the Cougars, who were nowhere near the class of the Lobos at that time, won that game.
That's funny you said that because I just tried to think of those games, and what came to mind with all the wins is 3 losses. I remember Andre Miller getting mugged in the backcourt and turning the ball over in the pit, and no call to my total and complete
Sunday afternoon. Van Horn wasn't on that team.
Total and complete amazement. Was that the team that went to the?
They went to the Final Four,
yeah.
and
okay, there was a chaotic loss in
I sucked
Wyoming.
so bad they took me off the beat that year.
Yeah,
although I got back on in the tournament.
There was a chaotic loss in Wyoming, and Josh Davis cuts down the nets afterwards, and it's bedlam, and the place for the AA is full.
The guy was nude in the barrel. He lifted the barrel.
And Fresno State.
He was excited.
A rare home loss for the Utes. Fresno State hits a shot at the buzzer, and the dude tackles Tark on the floor, and I thought he broke his hip. Tark was down for a while.
And I was right there. It was right to my left, and it was a big Monday, and all the guys at Daily Breeze were watching the game, and they saw the look on my face because I had to send the story immediately as it ended, and I had to rewrite it, and I had sheer panic and terror, and they were watching, and I think his name was like Danny Young or something.
Yeah, I don't remember.
You little dude, small dude.
He was a little guy. Yeah. And it's funny, they won so many games, but you're right, the wins just all blend together.
Right.
The number of teams that they beat by 17 at the Huntsman Center goes on and on.
I'm going to be pulling my butt off for the Cougars tonight. Or
DJ
rooting
PK.
my butt off, I should say.
Tim LaComb, 8:30. We'll talk with him, Jazz analyst for SCG Media, former BYU assistant coach. More on the game coming up at 8:30 with him. Stay with us. DJ PK brought to you in part by University of Utah Health. At University of Utah Health, hope is in our DNA. Learn more at uofuhealth.org.
That's ironic because I think it's in basketball for the Cougars. Their DNA, hope. I got hope.
How much hope do you have tonight?
After listening to Kevin Young, more than I did before I listened to him.
They're ready to come out and shock the world.
Now, even with Richie Saunders, I wouldn't favor them, so that really hasn't changed.
Right. And Arizona's favored by 12.5.
And I think that we've seen this a million times, that in a singular game basis, things happen. I just brought up the Cougars in Coach Cleveland's first year beating New Mexico, which is a really good team, had a 40-plus game winning streak. and they play that game 10 times. That might be the only time that the Cougars actually won that game. But they're only playing it once tonight.
And if they play 20 times, it might be the only time the Cougars won that game. Bad teams don't go in and beat good teams on their home court.
Did you have to one-up me again?
Yes, I did.
Suck.
I did.
It's a good thing I have no ego and I'm so dang humble.
I think the reason you made it the most shocking game you've seen out of 750 is because it wasn't even a 1 out of 10. That was a 1 out of 20 or 30 or 40. Usually I push back because you've even admitted you can be a prisoner of the moment. This is the biggest thing. But that thing in Albuquerque, that was crazy. It was a huge league at that point. A bottom 4 team beat a top 4 team. It actually got them out of the bottom 4.
I leaped into Dave Rose's arms. He carried me up that tunnel.
If you don't know about the tunnel, go watch Scotty's walk and talk going down the tunnel. I noticed he didn't do the walk and talk going up the tunnel.
They need a ski lift.
They did.
An escalator.
That is, I've never been to the pit. I've never been to Albuquerque. But I know a bunch of people who have been, and every one of you says the same thing about that tunnel.
Dave Rose experienced the highs and lows in that furry building. Houston losing to NC State and Thurl, and then Dave and Coach Cleveland was their first year. Yeah, and that was so wild. And so, there is a form of, in sports, anything can happen, but I think the thing that applies to it most is college basketball, because you look at, the Cinderella, the term, I think, was attached to college basketball in the NCAA tournament, right? How many times have we seen a no-name upset a big dog? Go football. How many times have we seen an Appalachian State beat Michigan? It's happened so rare that we can name them.
Right. But in basketball, this happens.
Right.
There's a shocker in the NCAA tournament every year. How did that happen? I mean, we could list 10 schools.
Who was the one up in Boise? Was it Hampton? Craig Dolajak was calling the game.
They beat a really good K-State team, and the player.
I want to say it was Iowa State.
Oh, was it Iowa State?
Stacy.
Oh, and he picks the coach up in the air. Well, Bowler got 4 shockers that day. K-State probably lost to somebody else.
Right.
You're probably right.
But and they carried the guy up, and he was a little dude, like a Jeff Van Gundy type size.
Chaminade beat Ralph Sampson and the number 1 pick in the draft in Virginia. Crazy things happen all over the place.
Most especially in this sport.
Yeah.
I'm really just intrigued to see what these guys do. Because now they have, and Kevin Young talked about it, this is where I thrive. He's been a kind of a back against the wall little dude. Gets to the NBA and could have likely had an NBA head coaching job. So, and he talked about with his wife, he was volunteering in the beginning to get his foot in the door, blah, blah, blah. So he had nobody. It's not like Bickerstaff, the Denver guy. He's an Adelman, isn't he? Mm-hmm. And the list goes on of sons. And he replaces Malone, whose father was an NBA coach, right?
There's tons of examples.
And we see that in the NFL, Shanahan, McVay.
Shanahan's really good, but his dad was in the NFL.
Right.
And McVay's really good.
We're not taking away,
his dad was in the NFL.
But the door was flung wide open. The door wasn't flung wide open for Kevin Young.
There is something to be said for energy and enthusiasm, and the only positives, little tiny silver lining in the otherwise dark cloud of a season-ending injury is that it becomes much harder to scout you. Like, what are you going to do? I mean, they don't really know. Who's going to play? What are these guys' tendencies? What are their now? In a few weeks, whoever emerges will be better scouted. But as far as having a little element of surprise, they have it. And if the whole team plays with more energy, I mean, we had people commenting on it this morning. Like, they've got to defend better. They could have beaten Arizona at home, and they lost 86-83. It's just like, if you're going to give up 86 points, you're probably going to get beat. You got to play a little bit of defense. And it's still a make-or-miss game. Sometimes contested shots go in. You just got to live with that. But it's just around the margins. Do you get one stop every 10 minutes that you weren't going to get? Because that's 8 points over the course of a game. And with 3-point shots, maybe it's 9 or 10. That could be the difference in the game.
I agree.
So maybe him coming out with his fire and the energy and enthusiasm, and we both played on teams where you play a little and then you play a lot. When you suddenly realize you're going to get to play, you're going to be coming with all kinds of energy.
Oh, if I'm Boscovich, man, I'm jacking him up left and right. Take me out, buddy.
Yeah, and if they start going in, that's how upsets happen.
Well, that's the way you're going to be able to score, is have them shoot and have them go in.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this game, see what these guys can do.
DJ and PK, more with Tim LaComb at 8:30, and Bruce Pascoe covers the Wildcats at 9 o'clock. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Join Scotty G and friends this Friday at Kenny J's Barbecue from noon to 3 for the 60 and 60 ranking show. Kenny J's Barbecue, located at 11610 District Drive in South Jordan. Kenny J's Barbecue.
I thought that 60 died.
They do it as a postseason thing now, so they're ranking the players from this past season.
I still think we ought to do the worst 60.
Guys
bottom barrel roster guys.
Guys who've been invited to leave the team and transfer to a big sky school.
You that transfer portal over there, young man.
Yeah.
Got to be known for something. Let's be known for the negative. It's not like I'm not known for that anyway.
Hey-o! It is awesome that this is another example of you being more positive than me. Your thing is 50-50 on the Cougars to the Sweet 16. I think a little uphill there. I'd go with 40-60, 35-65.
Former player at Utah back in the 80s, a DB, sees me at the gym. Nice guy. Enjoy talking to him. He comes up to me, man, I got to ask you one question. Okay. He said, what do you think of this Adam Silver thing? Finding the Jazz.
Yeah.
And he says, I was listening to Scott Gerard, and I texted Scotty this so he knows it. He says, and I'm paraphrasing, he says, I disagree with everything of what Scott Gerard says. He says, most of the stuff he says is BS, but he doesn't say BS.
Right.
He says it. But he said, follow the money on this Adam Silver thing, and I agree 100%.
So we got the question of how much you think gambling sites, as reports indicate, played a role in Adam Silver finding the Jazz $500,000 for sitting players in the fourth quarter. The phrase "played a role," I can accept that. I
We
can
would
see
be
that
so
happen.
naive to think that that's not the case.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm not naive.
Good. But I'm only going to go with played a role. I still think it's mostly Oklahoma City wants that draft pick. And Presti's complaining.
Okay, but who cares about one complaint?
And if Sam Presti's going to complain, all he needs to look at it in the mirror.
Right. Yeah, just hold up a mirror. And obviously Adam Silver holds up a mirror and faces the other people because he doesn't want to look at the mirror and sees what he sees.
But Presti kicks the pebble that hits the rock that starts the boulder that starts the avalanche.
I don't think Presti has that much power.
Sure hope not.
You don't think he planted that story with ESPN?
Yeah, but I don't think he has that much power to have it grow to the level, I'm going to fine you $500,000. Yes, I totally agree with you. But I don't think that he can ruffle the feathers to that level to produce that type of result for a draft pick that at best is going to be number 9.
That's the best Oklahoma City can get out of it.
Right.
But everybody's saying there's 10 really good players in this draft.
Who cares what everybody says? I mean, that's just now.
Okay.
I mean, you want the pick. Obviously, you want the pick. If for no other reason, you can trade the pick and do something and help your team win now. So I'm not dismissing that. I just think that to go to that level, one guy is upset.
I don't think it's
Adam Silver probably deals with guys upset every single day.
Right.
One thing or another. That seems like a job where you're just constant. You have fire extinguishers with you at all times.
Just keep rolling.
Yeah.
And I have zero doubt that lots of league partners have lots of opinions on how the league should run.
Of course they do.
So when the complaints come,
should.
they're writing checks and they care. So these guys are like all the other league partners. The TV networks have complaints, but so does corporate America. You know, they've got tons of league sponsors.
And then you got TV that has such an enormous influence.
Yeah.
And they're paying billions of dollars, so they should.
Yeah.
It's just like these boosters. I know of a booster who went into a BYU locker room and said, you need to change this player.
The thing that
Coach told me that.
The thing that I think points at the the $500,000 for the Jazz and what you said, it's getting attention because they're doing something new. And why are the Pacers only at $100,000? Well, in-game bets are a big deal.
Yeah,
people who are losing,
the prop bets.
People who are losing, doubling down, trying to get their money back. And you can probably speak to this. You got, you've been the little PK, 8-year-old PK getting taken to the track. You've seen this. If not in your family, you're just sitting there and you can see people on both sides of you and people at the windows and people in the parking lot and. Yeah. So I think people doubling down, and we know what's going to happen in the fourth quarter because we're following the Jazz closely. But other people aren't, and they make an in-game bet, and they're like, how did that happen? How can you do this? And how about the people who set the lines not realizing what's going on, and Jazz fans who know cleaning up because they realize what's going to happen, the people who really follow it.
It's a big deal.
And so they lose some bets. What are you doing?
Money's at stake.
And it's not just that it's happened. It's like, well, if it keeps happening, then it's much harder for them to figure out across the league. I mean, it makes it wildly unpredictable. I don't think they'll like that. I can see how the house can lose.
Well, Scott Gerard, who I agree most of the time is full of BS, he's right, man. Follow the money.
Yeah.
It'll lead you back to your answer most, if not almost all, if not all the time. Everybody has an agenda, and that agenda is money-driven.
So how much do you think gambling sites played a role? I think they played a role.
Significant.
From the start, I don't have an issue with that. Now, they're leaning into an already ongoing storm because they think by the time they do that, Presti's already been pumping ESPN guy full. And then
No, I don't think it's Presti because this thing has been going on. He just thought of it now. That was last year. They had to keep the pick. Other teams have to keep picks. So Presti has that much influence, and he thought of it.
But it was easier to hide, and it's more obvious what they're doing because you got to hide a second All-Star. And this all breaks in that narrow window after the trade. And so they had to come up with something new at that point.
Washington had to hide 2 All-Stars. No big deal. You're done for the season.
Yeah. But Oklahoma City's not about to get Washington's pick. And
Sacramento, somebody else
the same
would be.
thing.
It doesn't matter. The premise, the Jazz, this is not the first time we're tanking to protect a pick. This isn't the first time it's been done. You said years ago, it's got to be at least 12 years ago, the Warriors did it.
Yep.
And the Jazz just sat there quietly when they sat David Lee? No. They said, what the fetch? I know they said, what the fetch.
What the fetch?
Yeah. Yeah.
Robert thinks he probably lost $500,000 on a bet because the Jazz sat players in the fourth and needed his money back.
Adam Silver? Yeah, I'm sure he's gambling on NBA games.
No. But I think to Robert's point, other people lost $500,000, and that if this becomes
a
trend,
tip of the iceberg,
if this becomes a trend across the league, this stuff could happen all the time.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing about not playing him, and I've seen national people say this, it's like, it's weird they didn't find that much because isn't it better to see a guy play 25 minutes than see a guy play 0 minutes?
Well, and then
it's not about the fans.
Quarter. So then don't play him 3 fewer minutes in the third and then play him 3 minutes in the fourth and everything's fine. No, come on. That's not it.
Melody, I saw betting site folks complaining on social media. I think it had a lot of impact on Silver's decision and why he's making a big example out of the Jazz.
Yeah.
The integrity of the game is betting, apparently. I see Mark Cuban's on the side of tanking. Certainly worked for the Mavs.
The sports now has become a betting industry.
They're making a lot of money off that.
Yes. Across the board, not exclusive to the NBA.
No, NFL. College football. I mean, driving viewership.
Whatever.
Yeah, driving viewership in games.
Yes. Yeah. And, sports books.
Well, we've seen it in the whole in-game thing, which
and you can do it right there in the arena.
Which is there's probably a part of the audience that realizes how big in-game betting is, and there's probably a part to whom there's driving right now going, really? I'm like, oh, absolutely. We had the baseball scandal because they're on isolated pitches, betting balls and strikes.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, yeah, there's all kinds of stuff.
For premier players.
Yeah. So second half bets, fourth quarter bets, you've lost, double down, get your money back.
Right. It's never going to end.
The gambling?
There's always going to be
I don't know, gambling
an issue.
Around gambling. Yeah, well, we've got like at least 75 years of evidence. No,
Right.
we don't. We have more than that. Go back to the Black Sox in the World Series. We got more than 100 years of evidence.
Yeah.
I was going back to college basketball scandals in the 50s. Yeah.
Yeah. It's always going to be
But yeah,
there.
the World Series. And there's no way it started. I mean, that's just a landmark we know about.
Right. Yeah, you're always going to have these problems. You're going to try to mitigate them as much as possible, but you're always going to have these issues because it is wildly popular. Then you get people who are desperate. Yeah, my cousin Rocco did time for this very thing. And people laugh when I say Rocco. Well, that's his freaking name.
And he really is your cousin.
Yes.
And he really did do time.
Yes.
Living the stereotype. Living the joke. But it's no joke when it's you.
So be it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long was he away for?
How
old were you?
Teen.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then I went back. I moved to Arizona, went back as an adult. He comes up to me, he gives me a big hug. He says, now, you're here for a couple weeks, whatever it was, during the summer. He says, whatever you need anything, you let me know. And it made me nervous when he said that.
Hey, your family.
Because I'm one of these guys that sees wrong and then knows I don't want to do that. So I ran the other way. And I literally don't gamble anything. And I come from a long lineage that is still going on.
So when you were at some family reunion, and how many brothers and sisters did your parents have? They're big families?
My mother had 9 siblings, so she would be the 10th, and my father had 8.
Okay, and so he'd be the 9th. So when you're at whatever family reunion, forever's birthday, anniversary, whatever holiday, and everyone's getting together, you're way over 50 people. You're 100 people.
Yeah.
Easy.
You ever watch The Sopranos when they'd have like a cookout, and there'd be all those people?
That was the
and
extended.
those were the very
your
streets we
extended
grew
families.
up on. Yeah. So it was all there, and I was aware of it. I had my mother worked at City College of New York in the bookstore, and the manager, a guy named Carmine, and people laugh, but that was his name. and it was like a 25-mile drive from where we lived, and they commuted. My mother worked for Carmine, and Carmine's son, Ricky. One morning, he was like 17, 18, didn't wake up, overdosed, dead.
Wow.
And I'm like 14 years old. I've never, ever done drugs.
Yeah.
Never.
But see, those are two stories right there with the gambling and the drugs that go to the half joke, but it's true. Don't learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
Learn from other people's mistakes.
And I remember the catastrophe and the emotional devastation that was that. And I thought, I'm never going to do that again. And wasn't a choir boy growing up. I'm not saying that. But I never did. Never.
But that you could avoid.
Never.
Don't touch the stove. It's hot.
No, I had roommates when I went to ASU. I had to move. Oh, my gosh. The guy was running a drug ring. I wondered why, like early in the month, every month, there'd be like 20 people would filter in and out. I figured out. I got out of there at this semester. It cost me money, but I got out of there. Yeah, I just didn't want to be involved with that. And so the gambling, I've seen it, and it's not going to go away, and it's an issue. And I think to an extent, the Jazz are being made an example of. But, they resume play in a little over 48 hours and keep doing what you're doing. I saw a stat what the Jazz are offensively when Markkanen's on the floor versus when he's off the floor. Lowry, kick your feet up. Fall down the stairs at home, do something, and then next year it is go.
I can't remember who told me this, but somebody, and it was yesterday, somebody said, I don't think it was the media people, I think it was somewhere in the public, said the Jazz just have to find an injury for Lowry Markkanen.
Yeah.
They can't cat and mouse it. There's just got to be something. It's this, and he's done for the year. Oh, was it you? Oh, it was a media person. That was Jake. All right.
We were talking yesterday.
Not any media person, one of the
right
media
there on the
people.
other side of the glass.
No,
Sorry, Jake.
No, we were talking yesterday. I'm like, they've got to come up with something.
Yeah, that was, just
where's Galooly when you need him?
Quit. Don't ham and egg it.
No,
it's why.
Oh, sorry. Why?
They have to. And what are they going to do? There's no way they can take away the pick, and you can continue to find them out the yin-yang, but so what? Because then you get the pick, and I was telling my friend at the gym yesterday, I just think luck's got to shine on them at some point. It's got to be their turn. And he said, "Oh, I remember last year when they got 5th. You were pissed." I said, "I was. Absolutely, I was." And
although it looks like they got a good player.
That wasn't the point at the time.
No. The point is to get a great player, right?
It worked out, but we didn't know it. But that was like still 5 weeks away, right? Or a month at least, between the lottery order and the actual draft. Yeah, and then somebody with a 1.5% chance gets it. Come on, I just think they have to do it. It's in their best interest. It may not be in the league's best interest, but so what? It's in their best interest. And then they're off and running. And then you don't have to worry about the Jazz for the next 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And then the Jazz go back to being a model organization like they were under the Millers.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up next, Tim LaComb, Jazz analyst for SEG Media. We can talk a little bit about tanking with him, and obviously the former BYU assistant basketball coach. We'll talk about tonight's game with Arizona. Stay with us, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
One of Adam Silver's biggest problems is that he is not consistent at all, and he sets all these crazy precedents that he doesn't live up to, or he sets a precedent he can never live up to. He can't sit there and manage Will Hardy's lineup.
If you want to say conduct detrimental to the NBA, that could be every single night in the NBA with what happens with rotations or who's available and who's not available. That doesn't apply to the player participation policy. You know, the Jazz can rest Yusuf Nurkic all they want. He's not in the player participation policy, but if suddenly the NBA says, well, that's detrimental to the NBA and we're going to fine you anyways, then this opens a can of worms that you can't enforce every night because you can't fine your teams every single night they step on the court.
Because he doesn't care about policy and never has. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Catch Jake and Ben weekdays from 10 to noon on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK. We told you earlier in the show, it's a Win Tickets Wednesday. Caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. Wins a pair of tickets. See Post Malone with special guest Jelly Roll and Carter Faith at Rice Eccles Stadium, July 28th. 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. Call now for the Post Malone tickets. DJ PK, we're joined by Tim LaComb, Utah Jazz analyst for SEG Media. Tim, good morning.
Good morning. Good dreary morning.
Tim, I have been trying to figure out why the Jazz got fined $500,000 when Indiana only got fined $100,000, and why Washington and Sacramento didn't get fined at all. And I'm pretty sure Oklahoma City's been complaining because they want that draft pick.
So that would make you feel better if those other teams got fined?
But it would make more sense to me. I don't know if I'd feel better, but yes, it seems illogical to me that some teams are being singled out and other teams that are obviously tanking or skating. So yes. But
a lot to unpack.
Well, what about what about the gambling sites? In-game gambling is a big deal, and coaches just suddenly benching guys can throw all of that out of kilter, and that could be a lot of bets and a lot of money. Hey, corporate partners have shared opinions about leagues forever, and these are two corporate partners. Why wouldn't they share their opinions too? I bet they hate it.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of so much of all that. First of all, I've been sitting watching the NBA nightly for 6 years and watching teams roll through that. You obviously know what's going on. There's teams now that are championship level that have built their team, on this very thing. So, first, have the Jazz probably had some issues where they're playing, yes, but it's like being 16. I remember this vividly. Got my license. I went to Sears driving school. It was a thing. And you got to drive these new Camaros.
Well, sweet.
And, everybody else had to go schlep it at school, but I figured out a way because my stepdad had some trade, some barter stuff. I figured out a deal. So at 16, I took a 3-week course, and I remember one of the first tickets I ever got about maybe a week later. I was sitting on the side of the road watching cars just fly past me while I'm getting my ticket.
Oh, that always works, and then you point that out?
Yeah, and I was like, hey, that guy's going fast, right? And so,
you're the first teenager to get that.
and that's kind of the situation in the NBA. But then you throw in there, like you said, the accusations from OKC, who's got, pick writing on it, and you've got, all of the gambling piece, which I actually think is the biggest thing that's causing heat for Adam Silver. I think he's absolutely 100% done a horrible thing bringing it in as prevalent. And, I happen to know some of those companies have, they have corporate roots, but there's some bad people in that whole world. And so for the NBA to get tied up in that has really limited, even his ability, because I think you've brought bad actors into the deal. And then again, I kind of concur with Mark Cuban. I think you're either tanking or winning a championship. I mean, you're not tanking, but this idea that every year, every team's got a chance to win the thing. Everybody's on a different level of building. And it, to me, is, it is rich right now to come out at this point after so many years and decades have transpired using this. I mean, Tim Duncan was a product of the tank, let's be honest. So this has been going on for a long, long time. And now all of a sudden we're going to show indignation. And that's where I have my issue. That's where I have my issue with the league, with Adam Silver, with the way the Jazz are, being basically at this point singled out over and over again. It's just, it's rich.
And with that in mind, whoop-de-freaking-do. I mean, they have to do it because the league isn't going to do you any favors. It isn't going to help you get where you want to go. So you got to do what you got to do. And they're on the precipice of doing something really good here and adding a potential, I'm not going to go game changer, but definitely a rotation player who could develop into something. You never know how that works. They have to do it, and they've got to lose as many games as possible in the final just under 7 weeks of the season. And if they get fined, fine me. I can remember Derek Coleman, when he was with New Jersey, they had a dress code. When they traveled, you had to wear a suit or a tie or something, and here's the fine. And he totaled up the fine on 41 games, wrote him a check and said, here you go. I ain't doing it. I'm going to dress casual on these flights. And so that's what he did. And that's the same thing with the Jazz. Because they're not going to do anything beyond the fines. So I don't care. Fine them. Fine away.
Yeah, that's just fine with us.
Oh, good.
I've lost a lot of trust in Silver. I think. How
about gold?
I think Silver is not gold. In fact, Silver is actually starting to rust.
And rust never sleeps.
It's just these weird comments like he makes about. It's like he's trying to gamify the game. And look, man, the game's been on its own. There's a multitude of people that love the game. And, again, this bringing betting into the deal, saying, well, I don't know if we should have jump balls. And, I mean, all these things that they're not improving the game. You're just changing it for change's sake. I concur. I heard Jake Scott yesterday, my illustrious co-host, say, what good has he done in his time in the league that's been really, really like, wow, that was great. The in-season tournament is a gimmick, but I do think that it's gotten guys to play harder earlier in the year, and that's a plus. So, I mean, I'll give him part of that. But beyond it, I can't think of really one good thing the guy's done other than, put the league in some weird spots.
Signed really lucrative TV deals that have made all the owners rich and taken the pressure off just selling tickets. Yeah, richer.
But that's what a commissioner is supposed to do. I mean, that, like my job, we had a clinic last night. So, the clinic went on. Good job. Good job, Tim. I mean, there's more to it than that. And, again, it's how you go about doing it. I'm finding it so comical to watch college basketball right now and know who the powers were, particularly in the non-NIL world, but in the under-the-table, we're going to make things right world. And if you look around at the teams that are really struggling, that weren't struggling before, it's pretty obvious. I took great pleasure in watching Dana Altman at Oregon just absolutely get rifled last night at Minnesota because the money that was funneling through that place. And so really just start looking at the standings and say, this team what happened? Oh, Mick Cronin's always angry too. That might be part of his issue.
Yeah, that's why I like him.
Yeah, you wouldn't like him in person. Squeak.
You were in the coaching world for a long time, and I wanted to ask you a general coaching question. We've seen what happened with the Kansas State coach. He goes out and says, hey, half these guys are going to be here next year. And so he goes public, and he's really, really harsh. And you brought up Cronin, who's been harsh for a good while. And there's been a couple other coaches, Tad Boyle, after they got worked, a Colorado coach by Texas Tech, he just said we're embarrassed, blah, blah, blah. What level of coaching can you do, like whether it's in person to the team, to their face, or through the media? Because it seems like Tang is, he was 1-11 at the time when they fired him in the conference. I'm sure if he was 11-1 and they had lost the game and he blasted him, it probably would have been okay, but it wasn't, and he lost his job. So I'm just wondering, where's the line there, and are these guys crossing it?
I think the lines, and you got this from local experience, if you're winning, that line's out there a ways. You can do a lot, say a lot. If you win, it's when those wins stop accumulating and maybe your activity, your actions start to create a little bit of angst because it's great when you got a crazy coach that's winning. There's nothing worse in the world to have. And really, in my mind, if you guys saw the clip with Mick Cronin last night, there's a student reporter asking him about the crowd, and the guy was so completely out of line. And it's so hard because what you got as administrators, you've got a room full of dudes that you're basically entrusting to this dude. And they start showing these signs of, like last night, that was absolutely insane behavior. There was a student reporter asked a question about the crowd. And Mick could have moved on. He answered the question, but then he had to make an aside. That's the dumbest question. So he instigates this dumbest question I've ever been asked. The student reporter says, I'll take that. Then he could end it again. And Mick says, well, you need to take it. And the guy's like, I was just, and then he said, are you raising your voice at me? And first of all, Mick's like 5'6". Like I would walk up to Mick and just elbow him in the top of the head and he'd be done. But here he is, because he's got a whole scrum around him, he's going to take on the student reporter. So as an administrator, you're sitting there going, this doesn't play great. And then those things add up, But I think more importantly, it's for Jerome, it was the 1-11 that caused the issue. And then they look for reasons, right?
Yeah.
But we're getting away from – I think we're going to get away from – because what a coach has to do now, it's like what Kevin Young's got to deal with right now. In the NBA, you have a guy go down, you go sign a 10-day or whatever. He just had Richie go down, and now he's really got to figure out. He's got to dig in. So there's no time for any of that crap. You got to have a coach that's forward thinking, and so I would see some of those guys just naturally weed out, and some of that behavior again, it's not warranted. You don't when you guys go down to ask questions, and you ask a kind of a fun question about the opposing crowd. Obviously, the coach is not going to love it, but at the same time, you don't expect Lord Farquaad to get off his horse and want to fight.
Wow. Penny Hardaway handled a very similar topic very differently after seeing the crowd in Logan. Just for comparison, look how Mick handled it, right. And then look how Penny Hardaway handled it. Night
exactly.
And Penny's not exactly right? Penny's not exactly stacking up the wins right now,
and he's not short.
Yeah. But, he handled that completely differently.
No, he did. He was not, he wasn't thrilled with the dunk, but that happens all the time. But when given, talking about it, he's like, the loudest place I've ever been. Yeah. If you have an opportunity to go. And we all know that living out here.
So we've had a lot of games now that we're just seeing 80 and 90 points in a 40-minute college game. Used to be you had to hold people under 70 if you wanted to win regularly. Now it seems that number's moved to 75, maybe even 80. And a faster-paced game and more threes. So I get some of that. But I had a former coach say it's because of the transfer rule. Coaches can't coach as hard. You've really got to push guys, really push guys to get them to play defense. And he's like, you think Stu Morrill was up there hugging kids and loving them up at practice? He was screaming about defense. Rick Majerus, Dick Hunsaker at UVU, Roger Reed at BYU says, I can go to every school, and every school, and it's different now. Is that why we're seeing 99-92 and 99-94 in your mind?
I think partially transfers because, you have to be on your best behavior while still getting something out of those guys, and that's hard. And then compound that by giving them a lot of money. You know, in some instances, guys making more than the assistant coaches are trying to tell them how to get in a stance and do things. So I do believe there has been some of that slippage. But at the same time, we've got, as you said, faster paces, more threes. So that's going to definitely push it in that direction. But having to coach, or I guess getting to coach guys that, are new to the system and making a lot of money, I think that's got to be a little bit of a learning curve on how to manage all that for guys that hadn't really coached professionally.
Yeah, and you wonder that Kevin Young was asked about all the transfers and Richie Saunders being a 4-year player and how unusual that is. But in Kevin Young's world, it's not unusual. The transfer portal is what he knows. And so it's like Whittingham talked about, the adapt or die type thing. And that's if you want to be in coaching, if you want to stay in coaching, you simply have to accept it because it's simply not going away and deal with it as the present conditions exist. There's no other way.
Exactly. And, Kevin's probably going to lean on some of his G League experience right now. You can never really count on much of a lineup in that instance. And I tell you what, he does a great job being at the game the other day. It was a minute in, when Richie's situation goes down and they really had to scramble, and Colorado had just gotten embarrassed in Texas Tech, so Tad had them ready to go. I stopped by the hotel to say hello to the Buffalo staff the morning of the game, and Tad I've never seen Tad so amped up because I think he'd put a lot into getting these guys ready to go after not playing well in Lubbock. So BYU faced the team was really motivated. They pushed them all night, but big plays. Kevin just stayed with it, and it was a neat thing with Jimmer this weekend being back and being around kind of what's going on there. So a tough weekend, but I believe Kevin can. He'll do a really good job of putting their best foot forward. But the schedule is damning right now.
How much can be made up with energy and emotion? Guys who haven't been getting an opportunity suddenly have it, and they can cut loose, and they're not scouted, at least in the short run. So there's got to be a little bit of a surprise factor. How much of that figures in as you look at BYU and Arizona, and then also BYU down the line against Iowa State, Texas Tech, UCF, everybody else on the schedule?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you've got to hope for, and I think good thing I watch in BYU is they really have recruited good players. They've had a ton of injury, but that's the only thing you can do. That's your only option. So, you throw yourself into it. We had that experience, Jimmer's senior year with Brandon, and we only had, I think, 2 games left in the season, and we were fighting our tail off for a championship. We went out, played New Mexico after losing Brandon, got beat at the Marriott Center. It was a tough one. And then we were able to come back and beat Wyoming. But in that interim, we were able to get a couple rotations with different guys who haven't played a lot. James Anderson, who we got to see this weekend. Big game James was huge for us in that Wofford game. Logan Magnuson was another guy who didn't play a lot all year long. And he actually, in my mind, was the reason we beat Wofford. He made a couple threes when we were stuck. So, yeah, you go to your bench and you get those guys in a spot where they can, really have confidence in the things they're going to do. But it's not easy at all, and you'd certainly rather have a guy like Richie out there. And my prayers to him and his family. Honestly, one of the best kids and one of the best families that I had the opportunity to interact with in 20-plus years of coaching, recruiting, just phenomenal people. So prayers up for all of them, and he'll get through this because that's who he is.
We will leave it right there for now, Tim. As always, we appreciate your opinions on all things basketball.
All right. Hey, I did happen to stand in line with Mick at a event at Bishop Gorman High School one morning, and he looked so tired. He'd been out all night.
Oh, what are you insinuating?
Mick, what were you doing last night? He said, I was betting on the carriage races.
The carriage races.
The trotters you're talking about?
You got a little personality. He's betting on those carriage races overseas in the middle of the night. So,
yeah, when I grew up, horse racing you're speaking of?
Yeah, carriage horse stuff.
Yeah, we called them trotters when I was growing up.
The trotters back in Jersey.
Yeah, that's what they were referenced versus the jock who's on the horse.
Did you guys have highlight?
To this day, I do not understand it, but the results from highlight in Tijuana were always in the newspaper in San Diego.
It's extremely crooked.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Check out highlight. There was a highlight place in Newport, Rhode Island when I was out there engaged in 2 years of service. And the place was packed. Midday, weekday, highlight. Huh. Who knew? Who knew? Yeah.
Tim, we'll leave it right there. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Tim LaComb, Jazz analyst for SCG Media. Coming up, Bruce Pascoe, Arizona Wildcats basketball beat writer for the Arizona Daily Star at 9:05. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is JJ and Alex. I got this.
Joining us on the program right now for Jazz Daily, he is the coach, Tim LaComb. You can hear him, of course, pre-half and post on your radio dial right here, the radio home of the Utah Jazz.
When you just look at it at face value, you're adding a two-time All-Star, Defensive Player of the Year, a guy that is on 5 attempts per night from 3, shooting 36%. Wow. Rebounding is low. It's always kind of been low. I'm hoping maybe Will can get to him like he got to Colin on tempo. It would have, a guy that was voted Defensive Player of the Year. He's blocking 3 shots a game back then. That alongside what I think is probably one of the up-and-coming dominant rim protectors. If Walker and the Jazz find common ground, you look at a team that's really big, but you also look at a team that's very long. This move allows Lowry to go to the 3, and he is an absolute cheat code at 3. It's pretty exciting to think about.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 7 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The Mr. Mac Utah County High School Players of the Week are Presley Whiting from Cedar Valley High and Simeon Sugataranga from Orem High. Whiting scored 17 points and win over Bingham, followed up with 14 more and a win over Mountain Ridge. Sugataranga paced Orem with 20 points and a win over Mapleton and 21 and a victory over Wasatch. The Utah County Player of the Week award proudly presented by Mr. Mac. No one buys, no one sells, no one cares the way they do. Absolutely no one. PK, hockey's still on the Olympic break. The U.S. is going to play the U.S. men will play their quarterfinal game today at 1:10 against Sweden. So the Mammoth are on a break. The Jazz still on a break here. They're back at it Friday. But what we have is a night full of college basketball. BYU, Utah State, all in action.
Isn't my guy making a speech tonight?
I don't know. Is he? What time?
Of course you don't know. Yeah.
Don't know. Not even sure at this moment.
I'll back up DJ. I have no idea.
At this moment, I'm not even sure who your guy is.
Next week?
I'm not even sure who your guy is.
I don't have a guy.
Well, I know. That's why I can't.
Who is the guy?
I can't follow this. I assume by your tone, it's a politician. A speech, politician. But beyond that, I didn't even know. Governor, president, where are you going here?
I will not be watching any of that. I will be watching the Cougars at 7 o'clock. and I'll watch the Utes at 6:30. But obviously, they're in a massive rebuild. It'll be interesting to see what happens there in terms of can you keep anybody? When you're trying, like we point to the rebuild with BYU and even Larry Krzysztofiak when he had to do it, right? Those are both heavy lifting rebuild jobs.
Yeah.
But kids couldn't come and go. So you bring in guys, and who's to say, like Alex brings in virtually a whole new team. I think he has 2 guys who stay, right? But who's going to stay next year? So is the rebuild harder than – all rebuilds are hard, obviously. The Jazz going through it, right?
Right.
Different set of circumstances to pro level. Are some of these guys that Alex is investing big minutes in, are they going to take off?
I assume the answer is yes, but to what degree? I mean, there just seems to be a lot of turnover, but if Alex is using this time to identify 2, 3, 4 players, and maybe like some of them are really good right now, and some of them are maybe not even playing, but Alex, projecting talent is like, this guy's going to be good. He likes it here. He's got a coach he's working with. He's getting better, and he'll burst on the scene, right? That guy could be there. I haven't talked to Alex. I don't know that. I think that rebuilds are way shorter, but I do think first-year coaches in basketball, not in football, but in basketball, where, I mean, we've been told right on the air, tampering starts in November in college basketball. Well, Alex got the job late, so hard to bring in guys and, add water and stir and win with transfers and NIL money.
Well, everybody who gets hired late.
Right. So that's, I think, for a college basketball coach now, the year one expectations.
See, I think it's harder in basketball. I think it's easier in football.
Because
I've got evidence. I saw what Signetti did. I saw what Dillingham did. In 2 years, they were in the playoff.
Yep.
That's massive.
Now Alex has a chance, because he's been on the job, to be fully active in the transfer portal the way everybody else is. But before, he was in the NBA. If you look at his contract, he's only required to work 10 hours a week because he stayed with Dallas. It took forever to put his staff together. I mean, it's just – this year was always going to be really hard.
Obviously. But if these guys leave –
right. But he's bringing in a 6'10" guy from Europe that we don't know anything about. Is he going to come in and be awesome? Can you put a basketball team together that quickly? Or to your point, it's still going to take a couple years. And
if kids keep leaving, you sort of running in place.
Oh, that's true for whether you're a new coach or not. You're right. If your program's getting gutted every year. Now at Utah State, where they've lost really good players, but they've managed to find really good players, and somehow they keep it going. I mean, I think financially they're more in the middle. There's certainly schools they have more resources than, and they can get these players. And there's clearly schools that Utah State has fewer resources and they lose them. Yeah, I mean, what you're saying, that's the worst case scenario. It could happen. Or you build relationships and you got more money, and what's happening this year is happening because Alex wasn't in place when everything was being sorted out.
No one's judging him on this season.
So then why couldn't he put it together next year?
If he could, unless the kids leave. That's what I'm saying. Suppose they all leave.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. When we come back, a scouting report on the Arizona Wildcats from Bruce Pascoe. Wildcats basketball beat writer for the Arizona Daily Star. They're going to be down a couple of players. What are they going to do? We'll talk with him next. Stay with us. Join Scotty G today from noon to 3. Tim Daly Nissan Southtown, 111 55 South Jordan Gateway in South Jordan. DJ PK, we're joined now by Bruce Pascoe, Arizona Wildcat basketball beat writer for the Arizona Daily Star. Bruce, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Bruce, you've been doing this for a while. You know how it works with injuries. The injuries to our guys are crippling, and nobody ever wants to acknowledge the other team has injuries. Well, it turns out we got two teams that got injuries coming into this game. Here, Richie Saunders' ACL has been discussed forever, but we haven't spent a lot of time, and Arizona's going to be shorthanded, down two guys tonight. What are they losing tonight?
Right. I mean, this is the first time really all year they've run into this, but they're going to be missing their starting power forward, Koa Pete. He's got like a lower leg strain that kind of has affected him for the last few games, can't shoot well. and they decided it sounded like just to shut him down for at least a week and then look at it again. And then Dwayne Aristote is sort of like their eighth man, 3-and-D guy off the bench. He's got an illness. They're not saying exactly, but it's not your garden variety flu or flu-like symptoms or whatever they call it, which usually you're back after a game. He's going to be out for a second game, and there's questions about whether he's going to go play at Houston even next week. So, this is unprecedented for them. I mean, like you said, BYU's obviously been in they got 6 guys out, I think, if you count guys that, were out since the beginning of the year, and Arizona's got 2 key guys. They're going to have to really rely on their regular rotation guys and maybe stick in a couple of these. They've got like a 9th and a 10th guy that they hardly ever use, and that'll be really interesting to see what happens there if they do that or not.
It was a crazy game here in Provo a few weeks back when we saw the Cats take the big lead, and then the Cougars roar back and actually have the ball down by 1, I think it was, and then the shot gets blocked and all that. And I thought that the U of A's size really impacted the game. Now, with Saunders out, my guess, I don't know this, but my guess is they start their 2 big men because Arizona's got some size. With Pete out, and grew up in the Phoenix area myself, so I've been following this kid. I know he's a player, and he had size. How do you think the loss of him will affect their ability to just clog up the lane defensively the way they've been able to do, particularly through most of that game against the Cougars?
Yeah, well, I think they'll be okay if they can get their bigs to play enough. I mean, the guy who plays off the bench behind Pete, Tobe Waka, is basically a starter. He's playing starters minutes, and he's I think he's the best percentage offensive rebounder in the country as far as he's really physical, 6'8", 230, 240, something like that. So, they'll be fine with him, but, I don't know, him and Mo Krivas, their center, he's 7-footer, they're still going to be 5 to 8 minutes that they're not going to have at least both of those guys, at least 5 to 8 minutes they're not going to have both those guys. So then what do they do? And then they're going to have to turn to Ivan Karchenkov, who's a 6'8", pretty tough, 225, 230-pound kind of wing forward, and he's got some versatility. He can play inside, but at the same time, who's going to guard Dibanza? I'm sure that he's going to be pretty motivated after Arizona kind of made him work pretty hard up there. So, it'll be really interesting. But I think to start, I think Arizona's, and for the most part, Arizona's got the size. I mean, there's actually, that was one of the questions going into the season was, where are you going to start Owaka? Because he was a starter last year. He was honorable mention All Big 12, really good player, and and he agreed to come off the bench and play behind Pete, who is obviously a super talented guy. So it's worked pretty well for them to this point to have him come off the bench, but now they're going to have to do that full time and then find other ways to fill the holes with those guys getting foul troubles or need a rest.
Arizona won at the Marriott Center 86-83. That was a wild and entertaining game. And a big part of it was that the guards, Burries and Bradley, both basically doubled their scoring averages for the season. Now, especially with Burries as a freshman, Bradley's a senior. Burries' 15 points a game is misleading because he was barely scoring early in the year.
Right.
But he's put up a bunch of good performances here as we've gotten deeper into the season. Do you think they could combine for 55 points again, or was that kind of a one-off and Arizona's got to figure out a different way to score and win and get it done in this game?
They can, but they probably need to be taking it easy, the last couple of days. I don't know if they were, but Burries has been on a roll. He's a consistent 20-point scorer practically lately. Bradley's tailed off a little bit, but he's also been the kind of guy where if he knows he needs to step it up offensively, he'll do it. He's just more of a natural point guard who prefers to set things up, and he's really got some subtlety in his game, but, he can turn it on. So it wouldn't surprise me to see that happen. Yeah, and they might have to do a little bit of that. But it'll be interesting to see, like I said, the Karchenkov, their 3-man, if he plays in the 4 a lot and if he does well. And then they probably could use a lot more from Anthony Del Orso, who's kind of their shooter off the bench. He's really been kind of slumping most of the Pac-12 season, and that's something that they've been missing.
Just watching them on television, it seems to me that Berries has developed himself into a star. And it's I don't know if they thought that was possible. You would know more than me, obviously. So that's one of the questions. Did they think that he would be this good? And is he a potential guy that'll go into the NBA draft?
Yeah, I think, they thought the potential was there. Yeah, I mean, he was, I think California Player of the Year a couple times, just unbelievable numbers. I think the only question about him, at least that I had, and I think they did, was that he hadn't played on a super high level. He was too old to qualify for the USA U19 team that Tommy Lloyd coached and Pete played on. And Karchenkov, the other freshman, he played in the highest pro league in Germany. I mean, he's basically a pro and came here. So I think Burries was the one guy who, more than anybody, really needed to adjust, which I think is why he didn't play well. Teams had kind of figured him out. He was a little intimidated by it, and then I think mid-December there was a game at Alabama or in Birmingham, and he really kind of broke out in that game. I think he gave him a lot of confidence, and that's what he's indicated anyway. It seems like he's got the skills. He's really determined. He's kind of one of these guys. He's just really super competitive, and I think that actually hurt him at Kansas, where he thought he was going to win the game, and he went in for a layup, and Fiore Bademba had swatted away shots as he does all game, and sure enough, he got the best of him, and it was just it was one of those deals. He's a really confident scorer at this point of the season, and and he's learning game to game. So we'll see. But yes, he definitely he definitely projects pretty high, and it's not a complete surprise. It just is a little. In fact, some fans here were kind of surprised after a month. I think the thought was, hey, wait, is he a bust? And now all of a sudden, no, he's not.
Bruce Pascoe joining us, Arizona Wildcats basketball beat writer for the Arizona Daily Star. BYU and Arizona tonight. Arizona famously started the season 23-0. They were ranked number 1. Now they've lost back-to-back games. Have there been just a few small weaknesses that you've either seen for the first time or that you've seen and finally the quality of the opposition could exploit them and win the game? Or is it just, man, they went to Kansas and lost by 4 and Tech was an OT game and stuff happens and they're 23-2, so what?
Yeah, that's a great question, and honestly, that's the same question we're all asking. I think the one thing that, first of all, just to preface that, I mean, they did have kind of a softer Big 12 schedule in the first half, so combined with the fact that they had some really good wins early, Alabama, UCLA, those were big wins. They beat Florida early, but they did, they beat UConn when UConn had 2 starters out, So there were some signs, that a great start, but it wasn't necessarily, you could dig into it a little bit. But I think as far as the questions about it, probably the biggest thing has been that they don't shoot a lot of 3-pointers. They're actually like third to last in the country as far as the percentage of threes shot as a percentage of their overall shooting. And that's because they rely on these bigs, and they do really well for the bigs. And they're pretty good mid-range shooters, and they can be pretty efficient even if you give them, 15-footers, they'll take them. And so between those two things, they're really not relying on the 3. And so the question has always kind of been, well, what happens if a team comes along and can match them inside, or for the most part, or do something defensively to kind of neutralize them a little bit and then force them to hit some threes? And that's basically what happened against Texas Tech. I think you're right. The Kansas loss was like, hey, Kansas, that place was nuts, even though they were without Darren Peterson. It was nuts. I don't think I've ever seen an environment that crazy ever. Like, it was insane. And so they lost that game, and Burries made that, ill-advised decision, and maybe that was a little bit of the moment and all that. So that one you can kind of write off. But I think Texas Tech was a little bit where JT Toppin was just dominant, and they also did some things defensively, offensively, the way they handled Arizona's switches and this and that. And then they kind of neutralized them, and Arizona didn't have, much shooting to speak of. And it was tight, and they weren't terrible, but it was a tight game, and they ended up losing it. So those things could happen. I mean, they could run into the team like that. They may run into Texas Tech again in the Big 12 tournament, but they could definitely run into a team like that in the, second, third, fourth round of the NCAA tournament. So that is a concern for sure.
They've got the grandson of Frank Arnold, former BYU coach, Addison Arnold, on the team. He's got this game circled, doesn't he, Bruce?
Well, I think he got in the game last year up there. But yeah, no, he did. And, he's actually a really good walk-on player. I mean, he's the kind of kid who can play at a low level Division I or certainly Division II kind of program. And so, and you never know, he might get a spot minute or two if being as they're shorthanded anyway, if some guys get in foul trouble, it wouldn't shock me,
Speaking of circled games, it's Houston and Arizona. The top two teams in the league are playing Saturday at 1 o'clock. There's one theory where maybe Arizona, emotionally isn't dialed in. That's a big game. They're looking a little past this. There's another theory where, hey, you got to win this. You could be looking at a 4-game losing streak. So actually it's going to be Arizona's best effort tonight. And then they got to replace two guys, depending on what kind of emotional leadership and how much the team feeds off those guys. Can you, and maybe it's just impossible with 20-year-old kids, but do you think this is going to be one of Arizona's best efforts, a normal, quote-unquote, normal effort, or maybe a little lower energy and focus?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they could go either way. You're right, because it is different in that they're a little bit unsettled. They're going to have to make moves in their rotation they have not made all season. That's going to be different. But I think as far as the effort, I got to think it's going to be at a high. I really do, and they'll be jacked up by these fans. I think everybody knows deep down what you said. They don't want to lose 4 in a row. They want to go into Houston on some momentum, and I think that at least the thought I've kind of gathered from just some thoughts around here is that this is the must-win game. Because they don't want to go to Houston on a 3-game losing streak, and especially Houston come off their tough loss. That could be, and the way Houston plays, that could be an issue as it was last year. So I think they'll be motivated for this one, and I think maybe some of the returning guys also in the back of their minds they remember the time losing to BYU here last year. Granted, Richie Saunders was the guy who hit the free throws and drew that foul that drove everyone nuts here. And he's not going to be playing. So, but that said, I think they'll be motivated for a number of reasons.
I saw a thing on social media that said essentially it's a shame that Tommy Lloyd has to tell the fans to stand up, where you go to these other blue blood programs, and Arizona certainly has been that since Lute Olson days, that they already know, and it's an intimidating home crowd, and U of A doesn't have that, and Tommy's got to get everybody going and all that. You buy into that, any of that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's ridden that line where it's sort of like you want to be respectful to your fans, and they do have really good fans. They're supportive, but it's different. And he said this last year. I think this year he was even more careful. But I think he said last year Iowa State and Kansas particularly, he just said, it's a different level. And I think, and I think he's spoken highly of BYU. In fact, I think all three of those are more, more tougher crowds to play than Arizona. It's just, I think it's maybe because of the decades of success they've had here. Fans are a little more like, okay, show me what you got. We'll see, but they'll rise up if the team's in trouble. And I think that happened against Texas Tech. It got pretty crazy because they're that's what they do. Whereas I think at BYU and Kansas and Iowa State and some of these places, they're crazy all the time. And I think at Arizona, it's more like, okay, do we need to be crazy today, or because otherwise we're just gonna watch the game. It's different, but yet it is mostly sold out most games, and you've got season ticket fan holders who've been there for decades. Students behind the basket can hit and miss. They've been generally better the last couple of years, so it's pretty good. It's still, I would think, it's still pretty much one of the more intimidating places to play. It's just, the Big 12 is loaded with absolutely, kind of amazing places like that. So, yeah. and it's so much different than the Pac-12, where it was literally like Arizona and whoever else was good at the time might have a good environment, but Arizona was the only one that was consistent. And now they're in the Big 12 and they're like 4th, 5th, maybe, as far as environments go.
over the decades, it seems to me that the students are the ones who bring the energy, irregardless of what's going on, and that with the big money, the people who are paying the big money, it's a little bit more sit there and let me be entertained. And then if something good happens, I'll get up and cheer. But the team has to lead the crowd instead of the crowd being crazy from the get-go, which tends to be the energy students bring. And I've seen some schools where they just price people out and price the students out because they want to sell as many tickets as they can because they have to make money. They have budget issues. How many students do they even let in there?
They let in about 2,800, something like that. Maybe as much as 3. I don't think it's quite that much. So it's probably half of what BYU has in their students, and yeah, it seems like, at least, I mean, it's hard for me to tell, honestly, because when I go somewhere, it's Arizona, so they're jacked for Arizona, so maybe they're at a higher level. But the 2 times I've been to BYU now, this year and last year, they were amazing. The students were, and frankly, the whole place was, and it wasn't, and it also wasn't like there was like blue everywhere. There wasn't any Arizona red. A lot of times Arizona plays on the road, and and especially in the Pac-12, not so much at Utah at the Huntsman, but there's a lot of red everywhere. And I think that's probably the biggest loss they had from the Pac-12 was they go to the Bay Area, they go to USC, not so much UCLA, but Bay Area, Seattle, even some of the Oregon games on Saturdays, the alums in those areas would come down and they'd wear red and they go in and they'd have this huge environment on the road for Arizona. You'd hear these U of A chants, it's insane. But that didn't happen at BYU. That certainly didn't happen at Kansas. Didn't happen at Iowa State last year. So it's a different deal. But as for the students, yeah, it's probably on the lesser side. This is a 14,600 arena. They don't let, I think students are probably a little bit lower percentage of that. And, honestly, but for some of the non-conference games, they don't even fill it. They don't fill the student section. So, and they went to the system, I think last year or the year before, where students, had to get points or whatever to try and get better. I mean, there's a lot of things they tried to do to jack it up and things like that. So it's gotten a little better, but it doesn't seem as consistently tough as some other places. And that may, like you said, that may be a function of money. They, obviously everybody needs money in this day and age. And Arizona they haven't traditionally, had the power in football to generate anything much beyond what the conference has given them. So, it's more been a heavy reliance on basketball here. So they have to do what they have to do that way.
Bruce, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us, and enjoy the game tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Should be a good one.
Bruce Pascoe, Arizona Wildcats basketball beat writer for the Arizona Daily Star. All this time, you've been trying to convert me, and I finally converted you. To what? You said irregardless.
I'm not going to lie. I was like, did he do that on purpose?
Irregardless. No, I didn't. I just did it.
Yeah, all this time you've been trying to convert me, and I would say, no, thank you. I respect you deeply.
Nearly 24 years in, we finally got you.
You had to repeat it. I just realized you made that joke earlier, and I just whoop right over my head. That was good. Well done.
And
I was figuring out the first one. I didn't get the second one.
I finally converted you.
And there it is. There it is.
Okay.
PK for the win.
So mark that so we can play that. He can use that.
You should wake up at 3 a.m. more often because you're more brilliant when you do.
No, I shouldn't. Unless I have like a 5:30 plane.
Even then. Why 3? Why not 3:45? You'll make it. It'll be fine. Yeah. Now that try doing morning radio and having a reports of 4 a.m. snow that's going to be so heavy that UDOT isn't going to be able to keep up with it. And then the storm doesn't get here in time.
And then when I wake up, the power is out in the neighborhood, and it takes me like a few minutes. Why is it so dark? What is going on? What time is it?
But all the clocks are off because the power's out.
And at that point, there was no chance for me to get back to sleep, so I just drove in and slept in the car a little bit.
Now look at the brilliance it's led to. When we come back, everything you missed in this show, stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is time for the headlines. What have you missed in this show? Brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 801-210-6800 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. We've been talking a lot about the BYU game. Arizona, you love body language, heart, fight. And Arizona's down 2 guys, a starter and a sub. Obviously, BYU's adjusting to life without Richie Saunders. There's a lot of question marks here. There are roles to fill, shots to take, possessions to be defended, rebounds to be grabbed. There are guys getting chances here who haven't. Arizona's had an 8-man lineup. I can't imagine they're just going to go with a 6-man lineup here, and people are going to get opportunity.
Frank Arnold's grandson, man.
Possibly.
They'd be taunting the BYU bench.
And for BYU, a couple players getting chances now?
Well, I think that Boscovich has been getting chances, and so he'll continue to get chances. And then Russ, he'll play.
Yeah.
And the Kostic kid. I think those 2 kids, if one comes in and hits a couple shots early, he's going to get some more time. They need one of those guys. They don't need him to go for 20, but I think they need to hit some big just give them some breathing room offensively.
Who's going to give them 6, 8, or 10? They need
one
a
of those
few
2
players to do that.
I'm counting on Boscovich doing that. And then also 2.
He had just one shot. He only took a 3, and he hit it in the overtime when he was Colorado.
And I think Kennard Davis can do more, and Kevin Young spoke to that.
Mm-hmm.
And Maup or Aboop, I think. I'm going to do that after the show.
Hadim Boop.
Yeah, I already told you. I can't help myself.
Moving along. Here we go. No, that's fine. You made the joke. Your advice a long time ago is actually very good advice. Do what you do, but just hit the mark and keep going.
I look at Yak and I can't help myself. Right. I get it. You're right.
It's taking the lap around, the victory lap.
This time I can't help myself. Okay. So I look at him as more of a junkyard dog, putbacks, rebounds, and all that. I don't know that he's going to get.
Talk to me about the rebounding.
15-footers.
I don't think DeBonce's going to average 13. That was great. He did that against Colorado, and I still want to see 8, 9, 10 out of him. But somebody's got to step up. Who gets 5, 6 rebounds in 15 minutes of play? If that's all you get,
I think they need Cater to do that.
For sure. Yeah.
Basically, Kevin Young called him out.
They need more people to do that.
He's a starter, but I don't know that he really plays big starter minutes.
No, it feels like he and Ahmed basically split time, and due to the foul trouble that they can both find themselves in on any given night, I think it's more Keita than Ahmed, but in the last game it was Ahmed who was in foul trouble, not Keita. So they do seem to be splitting the minutes at that position.
Well, I think that against Arizona, it's harder to go small. Like they've been able to do with Hope. And he provides a lot of energy, and I like the way he has embraced his role, thinking this is the way I can get myself out on the floor, and this is what I'm going to do. That's team play right there. And then, of course, they need the top 2 guys to be the top 2 guys.
Yeah.
Their margin of error was very slim, and obviously it's slimmer, and it puts a lot of pressure on the top 2 dudes. They're going to have big, maybe not every game, but against the ranked teams, yes. And we'll see. We'll see what happens with Texas Tech and Toppin. He goes down last night in the second half, and I didn't watch the game, but I've since looked at it and all this stuff going on, and it looks like it could maybe, hopefully not, be serious. And so does that change the complexion of their team? And the Cougars got them to close the regular season 2 weeks from Saturday, so we'll see how that plays out. And, going to I'd feel a lot more confident if the West Virginia and Cincinnati games were at home, but they're not. They're both on the road, so I imagine they'll stay back there. I don't know. Maybe they'll fly back and forth and figure that out. It'd be nice if they swept that trip, but that's going to be awfully hard. And I point to, as recently as last night, the top 25 6 road teams lost to unranked teams. That's all the evidence you need. It's hard.
Conference is hard. Road's hard.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of games piling up. And there are teams going on the road there with injury issues, suffered either in the game, before the game with North Carolina.
For sure. Well, North Carolina's understandable.
And you got the rivalry.
The top 2 guys were out, and they get smoked. I get that.
Right. And you got the rivalry emotion. NC State's going to be fired up for UNC.
I understand that. I get that.
But we're going to have a lot of emotion in these games too. So.
Well, yeah,
I'm looking at the
end
top
is near.
I'm looking at the top and thinking this looks bad.
That's what I'm saying.
It's really bad.
I'm not. I have no medical degree by any stretch, but and I didn't see it live, but I went back and looked.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That is highly unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because he's a player of the year and the conference candidate. And, yeah.
I thought initially there was some contact, but it looks non-contact. It looks like before he gets to the defender, he's already hurting and going down. So
yeah, and these things,
honestly,
they land awkwardly, and then all of a sudden it's shattered.
Yeah.
And you're gone for months. Who would have thought what Richie? Richie is a guy who plays with reckless abandon, I think we can say. And he's hustling all the time. Mm-hmm. And it's a move he's done a million times, and he comes down, and it's a little tweak, and then boom, he's done. He's over. His college career's over. It's crazy. It makes you wonder why it doesn't happen more.
Yeah, I just can't explain it. Guys make a move they made a million times.
And they're landing on a surface that doesn't give.
And it gives out. And I'm not even sure if he was like literally pushing off when the injury happened. They're saying lower leg, but it looked like he was holding
you're talking topping now.
Topping. It looked like he was holding his knee.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
right.
It's like if Texas Tech fans are freaking about his ACL, and I don't know if it is or it isn't, but if they're freaking out about it right now, I get it. That kind of obvious pain, reaching for the knee, non-contact. I mean, it could be something else, but we'll find out soon enough, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right, well, emotion, energy, guts, toughness. Who's decided, well, I still know which two guys are getting the shots, but I want to stay on the court. I'm going to get a bunch of rebounds. I'm going to defend these guys. We're not giving up 26 and 29 to their guards in this game. Who's going to take that attitude? Tweet that out when you see that tonight. I know you're not big on the social media, but when you see the body language, super good or super bad, when it hits you right where you live in Jersey.
Well,
because Arizona's similar issues. They're down one starter, one sub. And they've been playing 8, so now they got 6. So they're going to have to.
Understood.
They're going to have to run somebody out there.
And Kevin is talking about, his quote was something to the effect, hey, okay, you guys, you wanted the opportunity. Well, here it is. What are you going to do with it? Well, that opportunity just doesn't have to be on the offensive end. You can find yourself 10 extra minutes of PT if you're digging in and really giving everything you got on the defensive end. That will be noticeable for a team that has lacked that all season. So let's see what they can do. I'm excited for that. And he's right, man. Everybody wants playing time. You don't go to college to sit on a bench. I mean, you don't go to high school, whatever. You want to play. And this opportunity presents itself. Well, just be a dog out there defensively.
ESPN, 7 o'clock, the big game, BYU at Arizona. And FS1 has a doubleheader involving Utah teams at 6:30. Utah plays, and at 8:30, Utah State plays over on FS1. So if you're looking for something to do during halftime, before or after the game, during commercial breaks, or just go to the two screens and lock down on them both.
Well, I'll be on my couch at 6:30.
Yeah.
Watching
the
U of A, or the U of A, the U of U.
The U game. Start things off.
Yeah.
At West Virginia tonight. And Utah State's at home against Boise State, a team they already blew out up there.
Well, I expect a loss and a win.
Up and down. Yeah, that would be the way to expect. I get that.
I expect
home teams to win all 3 of the games.
Utah State to get a decent seed, to win a game, see where they're seated and where they play in the second round. And then Calhoun's going to have to make a decision.
Because he's bound to get offers. It's going too good.
Right. And what is the available money? Now, they're going into a better conference.
Yeah.
Although they lose New Mexico, but they gain Gonzaga. And
I think we know who the preseason favorite is.
That's a trade I would make every time if I'm a commissioner. I'll give you, and that's not disparaging New Mexico's basketball program by any stretch.
No, but Gonzaga's.
Yeah. I mean, they've literally made the tournament every single year in Mark Few's career, and he's coming up on like 25 years. And Sweet 16s are not a novelty anymore.
The Jazz made it official. They announced Jaren Jackson Jr. His surgery went well. The growth has been removed. He'll be reevaluated in 4 weeks. He's out for the season. So, confirming what you already knew.
I'd get some witch doctors to start getting MRIs on the rest of the guys. Oh, I think I see something there.
Major League Baseball Players Association Executive Director Tony Clark, former Valhalla High star. Let's go Norseman. All right.
But he did not graduate there.
No. As a couple of other high-profile guys have.
And he played basketball at U of A.
Yep.
And then
Big-time
transferred to
athlete.
San Diego State. Yeah, he's 6'8", literally.
He resigned after an internal investigation revealed an inappropriate relationship with his sister-in-law, who was hired by the union in 2023.
And I know you, and that's awful, obviously, if it's true. And I know you have a couple of brothers. Was there any hanky-panky going on?
Nope.
Because you would bring over a slew of chicks.
Stop. I'll let you have one. Just stop.
I wonder, Alan, he never said, hey. Because that was the whole deal with Rudy, when you think about it, right? He comes back. The brother, you remember that?
I don't, actually.
You don't remember that storyline in Rudy?
No, I don't.
You remember the film Rudy?
I do.
The Notre Dame guy?
I do.
You remember that? Yeah, he comes back
That's what spurred him to go to Notre Dame.
to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And his brother, of all the fish in the
Stole his
sea,
girlfriend.
Moved in on his girlfriend.
you gotta go after that bass. That is some great work right there.
When we come back, your feedback next. Stay with us. Time for your feedback. What do you have to say about today's show? What are you thinking? Robert, 2 losses. It's possible. Look into the games tonight.
Oh, of the 3?
I believe that's what he's getting at, yes. Bart, why did you guys interview Jeff Judkins? He's always a good interview.
That's random.
In fact, he'd be much better than Steve Cleveland.
Really?
We got enough segments. We can talk to both of them.
Yeah.
Bart's just on a rant here. Did you know the Utes play tonight? When Alex has this team winning next season, if I were him, I would not do any interviews with your Cougar station. Well, haven't done any this year. We've asked multiple times. Yak, how's that going?
Well,
not going anywhere.
I don't see Alex turning his nose up against me.
I don't either. As a matter of fact, having talked to him one-on-one when you weren't there, I have a pretty good idea what he wants to do.
Yeah.
He wants to hang out with you, actually.
I've been around him a long, long time. We had a deep history.
He was a high school star when we both showed up here and started doing this.
Right.
And then he was a college star.
I was a beat writer for his first college game, and I was a beat writer for his last college game.
Yeah.
And I hope very much that he gets it going at the University of Utah. Absolutely, 100%. Just like Morgan. I mean, this is. I've turned into guys I used to think, man,
I know,
they're
right?
old and they know everybody.
We're supposed to be. My wife, hey, sports, it's different. You get to know people. You get to be friends.
Especially in this community where a lot of people stay.
Yep. Yeah. And it's crazy now that we knew these guys in high school and college.
Mm-hmm.
And yet here we are. We knew Kalani in college. Kevin Young's an outlier. How does this happen? Jared Calhoun's an outlier. How did this happen?
I was the beat writer in Kalani's last year.
Yeah. I mean, Bronco comes on with us. Now, we didn't know him as a high school and college athlete, but we've still known him for 20-plus years now.
I was the beat writer his first 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, you're at 25, calling him when he was the defensive coordinator and why you making the move and all that.
Yeah. I feel like I have Bronco has a level of trust and confidence in me.
Yeah. I don't think he would come on the air and do the interviews he does and say the things he does without them. I mean, we've all seen interviews where Bronco's been guarded.
Right.
And you can go listen to some of the interviews with us. He's not guarded.
No.
He's out there. What was that line, a hotline, about the hotline you can call?
The Phantom Hotline?
The Phantom Hotline, yeah. I was thinking allegedly, but I knew that wasn't right. The Phantom Hotline.
Well, he's got experience now, and he can reflect on the experience and tell it like it is, especially when he sees hypocrisy and the tampering thing it doesn't exist. It's a bunch of posted speed limit signs and nobody to write any tickets. So you can go as fast as you want.
If BYU upsets Arizona in Tucson, where would it rank among the all-time Cougar regular season wins? John says up there with that win at Gonzaga when that big blonde dude from Lone Peak played for BYU.
Mika?
That's who he's got to be referencing, right?
Oh.
I think Eric would find that hilarious.
Because Emery had darker hair, and I don't think TJ had hair.
Oh, man.
TJ's a bit of a ginger.
How much do you think gambling sites, as reports indicate, played a role in Adam Silver finding the Jazz $500,000 for sitting players in the fourth quarter? Lane, it was 100% the reason. Brian, it was definitely a part of it. I think Adam Silver is down with keeping the Jazz in their place, basically a farm league team. Ryan Smith wants to argue otherwise.
Well, they're going to have an opportunity to, I guess, get the last laugh and to show. I'm encouraged about, obviously, what the Jazz are doing now. You make a trade of that caliber, and it really flips the story and the expectation, and then they're not going to be done. And if they can get a draft pick that's high, and it comes at the league being miffed at them, so what? That's the price you have to pay. They have to make a decision. Do we need to do what's in our best interest, or do we need to do what's in the league's best interest? And the league isn't going to take care of you. It's not going to award you picks or players or what have you. That's not the way it works. There's no allocation there. And so now they have this opportunity to do this, and they're this close, man. Get it done. And then it's over. And then it's win. And try to amass as many wins as you possibly can. And suddenly with that situation, 45 seems imminently realistic, and maybe beyond that. 50, I'm not willing to go there yet. Maybe in October after I see what the roster looks like. But let's get 45 because that's postseason, and that's obviously a winning record.
Men's hockey Olympic quarterfinals. Canada's losing 2-1 to Czechia on the USA Network right now. They're in the middle of the second period. Sweden and the U.S. coming up on NBC at 1 o'clock today.
They just tied it up, actually, 2-2.
Oh, it's 2-2 now? Just got to go.
Scored.
Okay, so that's 2-2 now. The U.S. played in Sweden, 1 o'clock on NBC. DJ and PK, we're back tomorrow morning. Jake and Ben are up next.